Chapter 527. From Ma Huli's memory, Sun Hao learned too much news. He was pleasantly surprised by this news. Condensing the body existed in his memory. However, if he wanted to condense the body, he must enter the most dangerous place in the bloody underworld, the burial land. After arriving there, he would find a kind of green gem, nether crystal. This kind of gem would only grow in the endless dead land, and it had extremely strong vitality. In the burial land, there were countless corpses of ancient gods and even saints, and endless death energy lingered. Not to mention ordinary undead. Even the existence of a king like Ma Huli was extremely dangerous. Ma Huli had been to the hinterland several times, and each time he returned safely and gained something. The credit for Ma Huli's safe return was all due to the eyes he condensed first. It was also this pair of eyes that allowed Ma Huli to find life in the burial land, and to find the nether crystal surrounded by death energy. Thinking of this, Sun Hao nodded secretly. The strong feeling of wanting to condense the body in his heart surged all over his body. Sun Wukong, let's go to the burial land. Sun Hao said. Yes, young master. Sun Wukong's face showed a look of excitement. It seemed that he also got everything from Ma Huli's memory. The two were preparing to move. At this time, wait. A woman's voice came into Sun Hao's mind. Three figures came from afar and stood in front of Sun Hao, motionless, indicating that they had no malice. Sun Hao looked at the sound and couldn't help but look startled. Familiarity, a sense of familiarity that penetrated into the bones, surged through his heart. Although he had never seen this female skeleton, Sun Hao could be sure that if she recovered her body, he would definitely know her. Who was she? Why was she so familiar? Sun Hao was 100% sure that this was definitely the first time they met. Yao Lin, what are you doing? Standing beside the female skeleton, there were two other kings. After the female skeleton named Yao Lin heard it, she immediately recovered. Leave before I get angry. Yao Lin looked at the other two skeletons and said, Leave. This time, the other two colorful skeletons were stunned, and their soul flames kept shaking. Yao Lin, what are you doing? Don't forget our agreement. That's right, you are not our opponent in 1 against 2. Jiuji, disappear before I get angry. Yao Lin's tone was heavy. Yo, you have a bit of a temper. Do you really think we're afraid of you? Jiuji said. Boom. Yao Lin didn't waste any time. She immediately used her killer move, and it was an extraordinary move. Jiu Pai was blown far away, his body broken into 2 pieces. The soul flame in his eye sockets flickered. Not long after, Jiu Pai's body closed, and he stood up again. Damn it. 4th bro kill. Jiu Wang roared and took the lead to attack. Jiuji didn't stay idle either and quickly attacked. The 3 skeletons fought back and forth. They didn't give way in the slightest. Even when Yao Lin fought against 2 skeletons by herself, she didn't fall into a disadvantageous position. The sound of all kinds of air waves colliding with each other and the sound of trees collapsing could be heard continuously. Sun Hao stared blankly at all this, not knowing why. Strange things happened every year, but this year there were especially many. The 3 skeletons were all at the king level. Unexpectedly, for some reason, they started fighting among themselves. Could it be that Yao Lin had the same feeling as me? That's why she attacked the 2 skeletons? If that was the case, could he just stand by and watch? There were a total of 4 kings in Dongmon Continent. These 4 kings were the 4 kings in the western region of Dongmon Continent. No one dared to offend them. Their individual strength was not strong. But once they joined forces, no king would not be afraid. Sun Hao learned all this from Ma Shirley's memory. Ma Shirley was cunning and escaped from the hands of the demons and monsters many times. Yao Lin was Ma Shirley's sworn enemy. For half a year, the two had been fighting to the death. Ma Shirley himself was already very smart, but facing Yao Lin, he felt that his intelligence was not enough at all. He was assassinated by Yao Lin many times and was almost devoured several times. In the end, he survived, but his secret was exposed. Therefore, Yao Lin joined forces with the demons and monsters to deal with Ma Shirley and snatch the secret of restoring the physical body from Ma Shirley. Now, only the weakest demon, Wang Liang, appeared. If the demons and monsters appeared, could Yao Lin still be their opponent? For a skeleton that was familiar with her soul, how could she let her die here? Thinking of this, Sun Hao and Sun Wukong looked at each other and nodded at the same time. Their bodies turned into a rapid speed and attacked the two skeletons together. Surprisingly, the effect was wonderful. Boom! Jiu was broken in half. This time, he was not so lucky to be able to stand up again. Sun Hao pursued the victory and crushed Jiu's skull with one foot. A soul flame flew out and was caught by Sun Hao. He erased the consciousness on it and kept it in the soul space. Third brother. A miserable soul howl sounded faintly in the Yin Ghost Forest. Jiu fell to the ground with a thump, and the soul flame kept trembling. Boom! However, in the moment when he was stunned, Yao Lin's attack was swift and fierce. His neck was cut off at the root, and he rolled out far away, only stopping after hitting an ancient tree. Gotcha! There was a shock. Sun Wukong directly crushed Jiu's skull, pulled out his soul flame, and destroyed his consciousness at once. The whole action was like flowing water. It was obvious that he had done it many times. Howl! Suddenly, an angry roar sounded. Two figures walked out of the jungle. Sure enough, as I expected, you two really followed behind. Yao Lin said, Yao Lin, you are so cruel to my third brother and fourth brother. Jiu's soul flame was howling. Big brother, just leave it to me. Sun Wukong rushed straight to Jiu and the two skeletons. Kid, you alone, can you be our... Before the words fell, Jiu's voice stopped abruptly. Boom! His skull fell to the ground and rolled a few times before coming to a stop. Boom! Sun Wukong jumped up and fell straight down like a cannonball. No, the shouts disappeared. Jiu's skull was crushed by his Sun Wukong. The consciousness above his soul flame instantly collapsed. From life to death, it happened in an instant. Such a scene strongly stimulated Jiu Mei's nerves. His body trembled uncontrollably. They kill my third brother and fourth brother so easily. Their strength is by no means simple. I should have thought of it. Jiu Mei secretly regretted, took a step, and fled quickly. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared in place. His speed was so fast that people couldn't react. Want to escape? Sun Wukong smiled coldly. His body flashed and instantly disappeared in place. When he appeared again, he was already in front of Jiu Mei. He stretched out his palm and pressed it on Jiu Mei's head. No matter how he struggled, it was futile. Jiu Mei could only watch his head being twisted off. Then, waiting for him, there was only a punch. No, the voice disappeared. The skull was broken, and his consciousness collapsed. The soul flame was collected by Sun Wukong. The whole process happened in an instant. When Yao Lin reacted, Jiu Mei and Wang Liang were all dead. She stared at Sun Wukong blankly, showing an unbelievable expression. Just now he seemed to call that big brother. Could it be that the strength of that person is even more terrifying? At this point, Yao Lin's face changed drastically. She looked at Sun Hao, and the feelings of worship and awe kept pouring out, unable to be retrieved for a long time. Chapter 528. Thank you, big brothers. Yao Lin walked up to Sun Hao and said with a grateful face, This is the big brother. You can call me second brother. Sun Wukong pointed at Sun Hao with a face of worship. Big brother, second brother. Yao Lin spoke again. Sun Hao nodded slightly, looked at this familiar pink skeleton, and said, You are? Big brother, my name is Lu Xiao. Yao Lin began to introduce herself. Lu Xiao? Sun Hao murmured, puzzled. Didn't those two skeletons just call her Yao Lin? Yao Lin, no, it should be Lu Xiao. She seemed to see what Sun Hao was thinking and smiled slightly. Big brother, Yao Lin is my nickname. My real name is Lu Xiao. You were born here? Sun Hao asked. Yes, big brother. From the beginning of my consciousness, I was on this dark blood star. Lu Xiao nodded. Then do you have a familiar feeling about me? Sun Hao asked. Big brother, do you have this feeling too? Lu Xiao's soul flame trembled rapidly, seemingly very surprised. Yes. Sun Hao nodded. Big brother, Then do you know who I am? Where did I come from? Lu Xiao asked a lot of questions. Hearing this, Sun Hao showed a bitter smile. He still wanted to ask her, but she actually took the initiative to ask him. Big brother, it seems that you don't know either? Lu Xiao asked. Yes. Lu Xiao sighed secretly. Big brother, then I won't ask. Are you going to the bone burial ground next? Lu Xiao asked. Yes. Sun Hao nodded. Big brother, I also want to restore my body and leave this planet. Can you take me with you? Lu Xiao asked. Take you? Sun Hao looked up and down at Lu Xiao, then nodded. Yes, but you also know that the bone burial ground is extremely dangerous. For everyone's safety, after entering the bone burial ground, everything must listen to me. Sun Hao said. No problem. Lu Xiao nodded. Big brother, shall we go now? Sun Wukong asked. Wait, the bone burial ground is extremely dangerous. If we go, good or bad luck is unpredictable, so we need to prepare. Sun Hao said. Prepare? Prepare for what? Lu Xiao was puzzled. In a bone burial ground, there is no soul flame to devour. In order to ensure our safety, we naturally need to prepare soul flames. Soul flames, the more the better. Sun Hao said. Big brother, that's simple. We'll collect all of the spiritual flames on the underworld blood star. That way, we'll be absolutely safe, Sun Wukong said. That's not necessary. Just kill a few more kings. Sun Hao said. Okay, big brother, let's move together. You said with a smile. All right. The three of them hit it off and stood up. On this day, under the leadership of the four kings, Sun Hao, Sun Wukong, Lu Xiao, and Suppressing Ghost, nearly 10,000 dark knights were like a turbulent current as they charged around the Netherblood Star's Domon continent. Everywhere he went, there were ruins everywhere. All the undead, regardless of whether they were as weak as rank 1 or as powerful as rank 9, died without exception. All the soul flames above rank 6 were stored in the universe ring. Sun Hao, Sun Wukong, and Lu Xiao had always been at the back of the team, looking like they were watching a show. With Suppressing Ghost in front of him, there was basically no one who could match up to him. Wherever the giant's sword went, not even a blade of grass would grow. Not long after, he met a king. This king's strength was no weaker than Malai's. The king's methods were even more ever-changing. Suppressing Ghost was not afraid of this king at all. After devouring the soul flames of the demons and monsters, Suppressing Ghost's strength was not weak at all. With a swing of the giant's sword, the king's body shattered, leaving only a flying soul flame. Finally, it flew into the universe ring. Run quickly. Don't. All kinds of shouts kept coming. Many of the undead had lived in the Domon continent for a long time, and it was the first time they encountered such a terrible disaster. In front of Suppressing Ghost, all the undead fell one after another. Kill! Suppressing Ghost let out a loud roar as he rode the skeleton beast and charged forward at an unbelievable speed. Kill! When the 10,000 dark knights saw it, they roared, drove their mounts, and quickly followed forward. Sun Hao and the other two followed unhurriedly. No matter how fast the army was, it could not leave them behind at all. One day later, Sun Hao ordered the troops to stop, because he found that there was no undead to be seen in the entire Domon continent. Even the weakest had disappeared. On this day, Sun Hao obtained as many as millions of rank 6 soul flames, hundreds of thousands of rank 7 soul flames, and even tens of thousands of rank 8 soul flames. Even for rank 9 soul flames, there were as many as 15. With these soul flames, it was enough for him to go to the Bone Burial Land. Now, we can enter the Bone Burial Land. Sun Hao was in a good mood. Big brother, what are you thinking about? Lu Xiao asked. Well, I was thinking that we could go to the Bone Burial Land. Sun Hao said. Oh, really? Great, I can finally become a cultivator. Lu Xiao giggled, jumping up and down like a little girl. Lu Xiao, is the physical body so good? Sun Wukong was not as excited as Lu Xiao. Of course, I heard that with a physical body, you can eat all kinds of delicious food and enjoy the joy of dual cultivation. Lu Xiao said. What is dual cultivation? Sun Wukong scratched his head with a puzzled expression. I don't know either. Lu Xiao smiled awkwardly. Then why did you say it? Sun Wukong shook his head for a while. Second brother, I also learned about it from other soul flames. I don't know what it is specifically. However, it must be a very happy thing. When I get a physical body, I will have dual cultivation with Big Brother. Lu Xiao looked at Sun Hao with an excited face. Sensing this enthusiastic gaze, Sun Hao quickly turned his head. This girl, she didn't even know what dual cultivation was, but she wanted to have dual cultivation with him. How could she be so active? However, he had not had dual cultivation for so long. Was it a failure? Hey, what am I thinking? Raman is still waiting for me to resurrect. When she resurrects, I will have dual cultivation with her. Sun Hao secretly made a decision. Big brother, what are you thinking? When we recover our physical bodies, let's have dual cultivation, okay? Lu Xiao looked at Sun Hao and asked, when you get a physical body, let's talk about it. Sun Hao said, Big brother, you agreed, that's great. Lu Xiao looked excited. Big brother, what is dual cultivation? Sun Wukong looked at Sun Hao and asked, it's a long story. When you get a physical body, I will tell you. Now, let's hurry to the bone burial land. That's the most important thing. Sun Hao changed the topic, took the army, and quickly rushed to the bone burial land. Chapter 529. The burial ground was located in the north of Dongmon continent, covering an area of nearly 100,000 miles. It was the most dangerous place in the entire Dark Blood Star. The undead that entered it basically could not come out. On this day, 3 figures walked on the edge of the burial ground. Every step was extremely careful, for fear of taking a wrong step. In the sky, flying ash whistled like flying snow, covering the sky and covering the sun. The whole sky was gloomy. At a glance, the entire burial ground was gray, as if the whole world had been burned to ashes. There was an indescribable ending and desolation. These 3 shadows were Sun Hao, Sun Wukong, and Lu Xiao. They had been in the burial ground for 3 days. Now they were still in the outermost area, advancing no more than 2,000 miles. In the past 3 days, Sun Hao had obtained a total of 5 underworld divine crystals, each extremely difficult to obtain. Several times, they were almost crushed to pieces by the mighty holy power left in the ashes. If it weren't for Sun Hao's strength and a pair of wise eyes that could sense the crisis, they would have been scared out of their wits by now. Along the way, they did not encounter any monsters. There was only one kind of threat, and that was the ubiquitous holy power in the ashes in the air. If they were unlucky and hit by a holy power, they would die without a doubt. Sun Hao could confirm that even if he faced that kind of holy power, there was only one word: death. Where there were ashes, there might be holy power, and the entire burial ground was covered with ashes. The terrifying holy power was hidden in these ashes. The air was extremely dangerous. Then, it was not just the air that was dangerous. The ground was also extremely dangerous. If you accidentally stepped on a holy spirit skeleton that still had holy power, there was no place to hide. No wonder even the king dared not enter the burial ground. Although he obtained 5 underworld divine crystals, he couldn't even condense an eye, let alone condense a human body. Therefore, he must go deeper. The more he went inside, a strange smell poured into his nose. It gave people an indescribable feeling when they smelled it. Sun Hao and the other 2 quickly held their breath. Suddenly, Sun Hao stopped there. He showed a cautious look and looked ahead. A few hundred meters away from them, there was a grayish-white skeleton that stood out from the ashes like a giant tree. The skeleton was several hundred meters tall, taller than a skyscraper. It was obvious that this was the skeleton of a holy beast mount. After 1,000,000 years, the skeleton was still intact. Beside the skeleton was a thick layer of black ash, under which was a pile of nether deity crystals that shone with a green light. After a slight sensing, Sun Hao confirmed that there were at least dozens of nether divine crystals. How could they not be tempted when they saw dozens of nether god crystals? Big brother, there's so many nether god crystals. Sun Wukong's soul flame flickered rapidly. He was extremely excited. However, he did not rush forward. After 3 days of training, he had become abnormally careful. Big brother, what should we do? Lu Xiao was also excited, waiting for Sun Hao to speak. Don't worry. Sun Hao stared at the nether god crystals, released his divine sense, and sensed it little by little. Around the nether divine crystal, there was a faint aura that was neither strong nor weak, which made Sun Hao unable to distinguish it at all. Sun Hao stopped, showing a look of fear. Big brother, what's wrong? Sun Wukong asked. There's an aura that I can't identify. It must be extremely dangerous. Hearing this, Sun Wukong's face showed a look of fear. Big brother, since it's extremely dangerous, then we don't want it. Sun Wukong said, Yes, big brother, surviving is the most important thing. Lu Xiao advised, Peep into the future. Sun Hao's mind moved, releasing a ray of 10-colored light that surged all over his body. Then, he began to deduce. With his current strength, he could deduce the future for 1 minute. In just a moment, Sun Hao finished deducing. Just now, he deduced that he picked up the nether god crystal. Then, it was the scene of the three of them turning into flying ash. Thinking about the terrifying scene now, he still had a lingering fear. That faint aura had supreme holy power and couldn't be touched at all. It's too dangerous here. Let's go. Sun Wukong saw Sun Hao's appearance and said, Wukong, there are at least 60 nether god crystals. At our current speed, it will take at least a few months to collect them. We don't have that much time. Sun Hao said, Big brother, then you guys stay away, let me go. Sun Wukong said, Don't. Anyone who touches it will turn into flying ash. Wait, there must be another way. Sun Hao used Peep into the future crazily. He used it tens of thousands of times in a row, and his soul flame dimmed a lot. Using it tens of thousands of times for Sun Hao, that time was like a few hours, but for Lu Xiao and the others, it was only a moment. For these 10,000 times, Sun Hao used countless cracking methods and avoided countless dangers. Each ending was the three people's bodies turning into flying ash. Big brother, can't we? Sun Wukong asked. Sun Hao shook his head. I have deduced 10,000 times and used 10,000 methods, but I can't avoid this holy power. We will all be hit by this holy power, and our bodies will turn into powder. Hearing this, Sun Wukong and Lu Xiao were silent and didn't speak anymore. Since it's so dangerous, let's keep going. Sun Wukong said. No. Sun Hao shook his head. The deeper we go, the more terrifying the holy power. If we can't get these 60 nether god crystals, I'm afraid that after we go deeper, we will encounter tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. At that time, we can only be anxious. And, big brother, what should we do? You tell us. We will listen to you. Lu Xiao said. Okay, wait for me to deduce. Sun Hao nodded and continued to deduce. In a short moment, Sun Hao stopped. After another 10,000 deductions, Sun Hao finally found a way. However, this method was also extremely dangerous. But the advantage was that at least it would not be instantly turned into ashes. Next, I will activate this holy power. Sun Hao looked at the two and said solemnly, This holy power covers a wide range. As long as we don't take the nether god crystal, the holy power will not release terrifying power. Even so, the holy power without releasing terrifying power is also extremely terrifying. What we need to do is to withstand the pressure of the holy power, hone and grow in the holy power, and finally, we will swallow this holy power together. Swallow? Hearing this, Sun Wukong and Lu Xiao were surprised at the same time. Holy power can also be swallowed? Isn't it too incredible? Since Sun Hao said so, it was possible to swallow it. The two didn't talk anymore and continued to listen to Sun Hao. Yes, swallow it. The holy power and the heavenly power can't be compared at all. Wukong and I are both people who have the heavenly power. As long as we release the heavenly power, we can fight against the holy power. At that time, what we need to do is to guard our hearts and wait for the heavenly power to win. Sun Hao said. Hearing this, Sun Wukong was full of doubts. Big brother, when did I learn the heavenly power? Sun Wukong was puzzled. You carefully sensed the heavenly thunder in your soul. Sun Hao said. Hearing this, Sun Wukwang's mind moved and sensed the heavenly thunder in the soul flame, and his eyes lit up. Big brother, you mean we only need to release the heavenly thunder and arouse the heavenly power between heaven and earth? Sun Wukwang asked. Yes. Sun Hao nodded. That's great, big brother, let's get started. Sun Wukwang's soul flame showed a trace of firmness and expectation. Don't worry. Sun Hao looked at Lu Xiao and said, Lu Xiao, as for you, hide 100 meters away, feel the holy power with your heart, and improve your strength. Sun Hao said, Lu Xiao nodded. I'll say it again. I haven't seen through the final result of this fight against the holy power. The three of us may all die here. Sun Hao said cautiously. Big brother, it's okay. If I die, I will die again. After 20 years, I will be a good man again. Sun Wukwang said. Yes, big brother, I'm already a dead man. So what if I die again? Lu Xiao was not willing to show weakness. Hearing the words of the two, Sun Hao nodded. Then, he turned his head to look at the skeleton. Chapter 5:30. Sun Hao walked forward and did not let the other two follow. Standing 100 meters away, he stopped, and his eyes showed caution. Then, he used the deduction again. After a moment, a piece of white bone appeared in his hand. With a move of his mind, a ray of electric light flew out of his soul flame and flowed into the white bone, exuding an astonishing aura. The electric bone piece was thrown out by Sun Hao, drawing an arc in midair and firmly attached to the giant skeleton. The sound of electric current kept ringing. The electric light flowed on the white bone, from top to bottom, attached to the giant skeleton. Suddenly, buzz, a soul-shaking sound sounded, and a wave of air spread out rapidly. The flying ash was hit by the wave of air, and like a huge wave, it surged outward. From a distance, it looked like a black mushroom cloud. In a flash, the wave of air hit Sun Hao, followed by Sun Wukwang and Lu Xiao. However, as kings, they were not injured. However, after the wave of air, it was followed by supreme holy power. You ants, how dare you disturb this seat's sleep? Unforgivable. Among the holy power, there was the voice of the soul. Plop! Sun Hao was unstable, half kneeling on the ground with one foot, and the soul flame kept swaying, like a candle in the wind. Plop! Sun Wukwang also knelt on both feet, and the soul flame kept swaying. Lu Xiao was crawling on the ground, unable to struggle at all. The holy power did not strengthen, and it had been pressing on the three with this intensity. The three desperately resisted, and the soul flame, under the holy power, became purer and purer. After a moment, Sun Hao stood up. He was able to resist the holy power, and he took a step forward. Sun Wukwang and Lu Xiao also improved a lot, one half kneeling and the other kneeling, struggling to get up. They were originally 100 meters behind Sun Hao, and the pressure they endured could not be compared with Sun Hao at all. After 2 minutes, Sun Wukwang stood up, and when he looked at Sun Hao, there was a look of worship in his eyes. She saw that Sun Hao had already taken 3 steps toward the giant skeleton. After 3 minutes, Lu Xiao also stood up. When she swept forward, her heart was already in turmoil. Sun Wukwang took 10 steps forward. In front of Sun Hao, he was only 20 steps away from the giant skeleton. After adapting to the holy power, Sun Hao walked 100 steps in one breath. Now he stopped. It wasn't that he didn't want to, but that he couldn't move at all. The holy power increased sharply, and Sun Hao's body could not step out, like an invisible giant wall lying in front of him. 2 hours later, Sun Hao finally took a step forward. Sun Wukwang was still at Sun Hao's original place, constantly struggling. Lu Xiao was only a few meters away from Sun Wukwang. However, every meter was like a heavenly moat. She couldn't even take a single step. After another hour, Sun Hao's body took another step forward, only 18 steps away from the source of the holy power. In another 18 steps, he would be able to release the heaven's might. These 18 steps were like a heavenly moat that was extremely difficult to cross. Sun Hao's soul flame kept swaying, and the impurities of the soul flame were shattered by the holy power and kept scattering around. Although the intensity of the soul flame weakened, Sun Hao's soul flame became purer and purer. Around him, rays of tin-colored light flew out of Sun Hao's soul space and rushed to Sun Hao and the other two. It blended with their soul flames. At this moment, the three felt a lot better. Tap, tap. Sun Hao took 10 steps in a row. He was only 8 steps away from the source of the holy power. His soul flame, under the pressure of this holy power, became purer and purer. Best, the soul flame turned grayish-white. It looked as if it had fallen to the first stage. However, Sun Hao could sense that his soul flame had not weakened. On the contrary, it had strengthened a lot. This feeling was like returning to nature. Above the 9th stage, could he still break through? Sun Hao was shocked and excited. All three of them were breaking through in their own ways. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, it was a day. Sun Hao closed his eyes and stood there for a day. It's a bit interesting, you can still break through. In the holy power, a contemptuous voice sounded, obviously not taking Sun Hao too seriously. Buzz, a sound rang out. Sun Hao's soul flame, after a day of baptism, had undergone a qualitative change. His soul flame had no color or shape. At first glance, it was like a transparent jelly, and it couldn't be seen at all without careful identification. Sun Hao opened his eyes, and there was infinite joy in his eyes. At this moment, he broke through. The soul flame returned to nature and changed back to the soul again. It was hard for Sun Hao to estimate how powerful the present soul was. In the soul, there was a void electric light constantly wandering. These electric lights, except for Sun Hao himself, no one else could feel at all. Sun Wukuang's soul flame had also been extinguished, turning into a golden soul. Lu Zhao's soul flame also extinguished, turning into a blue soul. At this moment, the soul flames of the three people all change back to the soul. An ant is an ant. Even if you break through to the holy soul, so what? Do you still want to deal with this seed? Disdain, absolute disdain. Sun Hao didn't mind. In his eyes, there was a dull look. He opened his legs and took a step forward. Let me see how many steps you can take. Suddenly, the holy power energy increased greatly, and infinite pressure pressed down on Sun Hao. How could it be? Let me see how many steps I can take. In the holy power, there was a look of surprise. All around, the pressure increased greatly. However, these seemed to have no effect on Sun Hao. He was still the same, walking forward step by step. This is impossible. In the holy power, there was a bit of surprise mixed in the voice. The pressure suddenly increased again. This time, the pressure was all aimed at Sun Hao alone. Sun Wukuang and Lu Xiao only felt their bodies lightened, and the pressure was gone. Sun Wukuang ran to Sun Hao immediately. Soon, he came behind Sun Hao. As for Sun Hao, he still had that indifferent look, walking forward step by step. Soon, he came to the front of the holy power. Who are you? You are not afraid of this seat's power? The voice turned from surprise to horror. Sun Hao did not answer. He stretched out a finger, and a void electric light submerged into the holy power. No, how can you have the power of heaven? Who the hell are you? The shrill scream came to an abrupt end. This wisp of holy power was wiped clean, and there was nothing left. All that was left was a mass of pure soul energy. Sun Hao grabbed this mass of energy and said faintly, "In front of the power of heaven, you are nothing." The voice was very light, but it had an invincible momentum. "Big brother." Behind him, Sun Wukuang's voice came. Sun Hao turned his head. "Second brother." "Big brother, you were too awesome just now." Sun Wukuang revealed endless admiration. You can do it too," Sun Hao said. Indeed, in Sun Wukuang's soul, there was also the power of heaven. He originally thought that the holy power would have the power to resist the power of heaven, but in fact, there was no power to resist at all. In front of the power of heaven, the holy power was nothing. Chapter 531. Big Brother. Lu Xiao ran forward. Seeing that both of their soul flames had turned into souls, Sun Hao nodded. "Not bad. Both of you have improved." Sun Hao smiled and nodded. Thank you, big brother. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to turn back into souls. Yes, big brother. Seeing the gratitude of the two, Sun Hao nodded slightly. All right, don't be in such a hurry to thank me. With a wave of his right hand, a powerful shock wave burst forth. The ashes on the ground were blown off the ground. Dozens of underworld divine crystals that were flashing with green light were revealed. Wow! Lu Zhao's face was full of surprise. He carefully collected the nether god crystals and handed them to Sun Hao. Counting them, there were a total of 72 underworld god crystals, bringing the total number of underworld god crystals to 77. He was much closer to regaining a physical body. Let's go. Let's continue searching for the nether deity crystal. With heaven's might in my hands, the world is mine. Sun Hao walked in front, Lu Xiao walked in the middle, and Sun Wukong walked at the back. The two of them protected Lu Xiao. Along the way, Sun Hao did not use deduction anymore. He relied entirely on heaven's might. Any holy power that floated over was extinguished by Sun Hao's finger. In the end, only pure soul energy was left, which was collected by Sun Hao and became a treasure of Sun Hao. This kind of soul energy would be very useful when he left the Earth domain. Sun Hao and the other two collected the nether divine crystals with a devastating momentum. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. During these 5 days, they'd found a total of over 500 nether god crystals, and coupled with the ones they possessed before, they'd obtained a total of 607 nether god crystals, which was enough for one person to recover. Big brother, we should have enough underworld deity crystals now. How about you recover your fleshly body? Lu Xiao said. All right. Sun Hao was not bashful. Instead of letting them condense their physical bodies first, he might as well go first. He wondered how strong his physical body would be once it was formed. Sun Hao was full of expectations. He sat cross-legged on the ground, took out nether divine crystals, and placed them around him. Phew, with a thought. A nether divine crystal floated up. Phew. Wisps of green light emanated from the nether god crystal. Like raindrops, it flew over Sun Hao's skeleton. Meridians slowly emerged from Sun Hao's body and ran through his whole body. Bang! Just by forming the embryonic form of the meridians, the nether god crystal turned into dust and scattered in the surroundings. Phew! Several nether divine crystals flew up and turned into powerful life force, wrapping Sun Hao up. It seemed that Sun Hao's body was covered with a green shield, and his figure could not be seen at all. Sizzle, one meridian after another quickly formed. A heart quickly formed on his chest. Dong dong, a powerful heartbeat could be heard. Surges of energy flowed into his heart, through his meridians, and through his entire body. Sizzle, all over Sun Hao's body, pieces of flesh and blood quickly condensed into shape. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels also grew quickly. The last thing to grow was his skin. When Sun Hao's entire body condensed and formed, the nether god crystal also disappeared. At a glance, Sun Hao's skin exuded a jade-like luster, and his whole body seemed to be covered with a layer of brilliance. His muscles were well-defined from head to toe. He was strong and full of vigor. There was a devilish smile on his handsome face. Those eyes were deep, steady, mysterious, and unfathomable. Lu Xiao looked at Sun Hao. For a while, he was stunned and didn't move for a long time. Her eyes, from top to bottom, began to scan Sun Hao. Finally, she stared at Sun Hao somewhere, motionless. Big brother, what is this? Lu Xiao pointed to Sun Hao's lower body and asked. Looking along Lu Xiao's finger, Sun Hao's heart jumped, and he quickly stood up. Ah! A scream ran through heaven and earth. Sun Hao hurriedly took out a piece of clothing from his soul space and put it on. He was careless and was seen naked. If he had known earlier, he should have let the two turn around. Big brother, what was that big meat pillar just now? Is it used to attack? Sun Wukong looked at Sun Hao in a white robe and asked. Hearing this, Sun Hao's forehead showed a bunch of black lines. How to explain this? Moreover, in front of Lu Xiao, that thing is used for dual cultivation. Sun Hao said. Oh, the two nodded together, showing a thoughtful look. It turns out to be like this. Otherwise, how could there suddenly be an extra meat pillar? It turns out to have this function. Sun Wukong nodded again and again. Yes, so we will also grow. Lu Xiao nodded slightly, staring directly at Sun Hao's lower body. Big brother, don't hide it. Let me take a closer look. This can't be seen at will, and can't be seen at will, understand? Okay, let's continue to look for the nether god crystal, and try to let you condense your physical body first. Bu Hao quickly changed the topic, lest they entangle on this issue. Okay, big brother. The two followed Sun Hao and walked forward. Suddenly, the air trembled. A strand of saintly power was hidden in the ashes and rushed to Lu Xiao. Presumptuous! Sun Hao snorted coldly. With a flash, he blocked in front of Lu Xiao. Then he stretched out his hand and blasted at the holy power. Boom! There was an explosion. The will above the holy power was instantly flicked away by Sun Hao's finger. Very smoothly, Sun Hao accepted this holy power again. Thank you for saving my life, big brother. Lu Xiao looked grateful. Lu Xiao, don't be so polite in the future. Sun Hao said. Lu Xiao nodded. She looked at Sun Hao in a white robe and was fascinated in place. At this moment, Sun Hao was also stunned in place. Just now, he didn't use any heavenly power, but completely relied on his physical body. Who would have thought that his physical body would be able to easily disperse the holy might will? The strength of his physical body was much stronger than he had imagined. It was likely to reach the sacred tool level. Thinking of this, Sun Hao was in a good mood. Big brother, you didn't use the heavenly power just now. Sun Wukong asked. Yes. Sun Hao nodded. What? The two showed shock on their faces, staring blankly at Sun Hao. Big brother, so your physical body can repel the holy power? Lu Xiao asked. Yes. Sun Hao nodded. Wow, big brother, you are so powerful. Big brother, will the physical body we condense be so strong? Sun Wukong looked at Sun Hao with a look of expectation. It should be so strong. Sun Hao nodded. Hearing this, the two were extremely excited. They pulled Sun Hao and said, Big brother, what are you waiting for? Let's go find the nether god crystal. Okay. Sun Hao nodded. He took a step, turned into an afterimage, and rushed forward quickly. His physical body was no longer afraid of the holy power. In this burial ground, there was no danger at all. Then there was no need to be afraid. Lu Xiao, keep up with me. Sun Hao shouted. Okay, big brother. Lu Xiao quickly rushed forward and followed Sun Hao closely. As for Sun Wukong, he followed at the end, using the heavenly power at any time. They were fast and disappeared in the depths of the drifting ashes in the blink of an eye. Chapter 532. In the center of the bone burial land, there was a gray figure shuttling through the bone burial land. Looking closely, this shadow seemed to exist and was composed entirely of ashes. After a long time, the gray figure stopped and kept murmuring, Sun Hao, you never thought that this will be the place where your soul will fly away and scatter. In order to destroy you, this seat has been planning for millions of years, and this day has finally come. Your weakness is really too obvious. That is, you value friendship too much. You would never have thought that you would die because of love. When the gray figure said this, he laughed. That crazy appearance was indescribable in words. Sun Hao, slowly cherish the next time. Time flew, and a month passed in the blink of an eye. In the past month, Sun Hao and the other two had only collected 400 nether god crystals, which were not enough for one person to restore their body. And these 400 nether god crystals were collected by them on the first day. In the next 20 days, they did not receive a piece of nether god crystal. It seemed that all the nether god crystals had disappeared. In addition, even the holy power everywhere had disappeared. All around, it was terribly quiet, as if a shocking crisis was waiting for them. Big brother, what's going on? How come there is no nether god crystal? Sun Wukong said. Yes, big brother. I really want to condense my body and dual cultivate with big brother. Lu Xiao said. Hearing this, Sun Hao smiled and shook his head. Along the way, he explained the matter of dual cultivation very clearly. He also said the difference between men and women. But Lu Xiao, this girl, seemed to have a tendon and wanted a duel cultivate with him no matter what. She always brought up this matter that he promised, making Sun Hao speechless for a while. Forget it. Let's not care about this first. Big brother, I have a bad feeling. Sun Wukuang's voice awakened Sun Hao. Sun Hao looked ahead with a dignified look in his eyes. He nodded slightly. Your hunch is right. I'm afraid there's a big crisis in the depths of this bone burial land. Big crisis? Their bodies trembled, and a sense of uneasiness surged into their hearts. Big brother, if there's a big crisis, why don't we go back to the Ingos Forest first? It's safer there, Lu Xiao said. Hearing this, Sun Hao shook his head slightly. Don't be afraid. Let it be demons and monsters. Destroy it together. Sun Hao showed a confident look. I think so. Where you wait for me here, I will go in alone and explore the situation inside. If something is wrong, I will come out immediately. Sun Hao said, Big brother, that won't do. It's too dangerous. Let me accompany you. Sun Wukuang said, It's too dangerous to leave Lu Xiao here alone. You have to protect her. Sun Hao said, Big brother, you have to be careful. Sun Wukuang looked at Sun Hao with a worried expression. I'm fine. Sun Hao patted Sun Wukuang's shoulder, took a step forward, and instantly disappeared. He looked ahead with a solemn expression. I'd like to see who exactly you are. Sun Hao's figure, quietly, disappeared without a trace. Not long after Sun Hao left. Phew! The ashes around Sun Wukuang and the other man began to howl wildly. Seeing this scene, Sun Wukuang and Yi Zichen's expressions changed drastically. Run! Taking a step forward, he frantically fled. However, it was too late. Bang! A giant hand formed from ashes pressed down from the sky. It aimed at the two of them and slammed down. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the world trembled. The two of them were hit by the aftermath, hit the ground heavily, and fainted immediately. Phew! A giant form from ashes condensed and took shape. Looking at the whole body, it was gray and white. The ash giant looked at Sun Wukuang and pointed his finger. Buzz! Ashes flew into Sun Wukuang's body. Sun Wukuang woke up slowly. When he saw the ash giant, he roared angrily. Monster! You're asking for a beating. With a move of his mind, a wisp of heavenly might condensed and blasted at the ash giant. See? The shocking lightning was about to land on the ash giant's body. At this time, the ash giant opened his mouth and roared, Presumptuous! This sound, like thunder, made Sun Wukuang's body tremble. A memory hidden in the depths enveloped his whole body. Greetings, my lord. Withdrawing the heavenly might, Sun Wukuang knelt on the ash giant's body. How is it? The ash giant looked at Sun Wukuang and asked, My lord, Sun Hao is unfathomable. If I didn't seal my memory, I'm afraid he would have discovered some clues. Sun Wukuang said, What are your chances of winning against him? The ash giant asked. If it's a sneak attack, there's a 90% chance of seriously injuring him. Sun Wukuang said, 90%? The ash giant frowned, revealing a thoughtful look. Then the corner of his mouth raised, and he said, Sun Hao is a Tao ancestor. Even if his strength falls, it's rare for you to have a 90% chance of seriously injuring him. This time, if Sun Hao's soul can be destroyed, my lord will give us supreme benefits. The ash giant said, Supreme benefits? Sun Wukuang's face was excited. My lord, this general will go all out this time. I will definitely catch him off guard. Sun Wukuang said, Good. The ash giant nodded and looked at the depths of the burial ground. Sun Hao's weakness is also extremely obvious. You have to cooperate later and act well. The ash giant said, My lord, I understand. Sun Wukuang nodded. You should be arriving soon. Let's go. The ash giant waved his right hand and disappeared instantly with Sun Wukuang and Lu Xiao, somewhere in the burial ground. Who? Sun Hao turned into an afterimage and rushed forward quickly. The ashes around him kept flying. They fell, flew up, and fell again. Sun Hao stopped and stood in place, motionless. Dong dong. His heart jumped, and a wave of uneasiness welled up in his heart. Not good. There's danger inside. I have to get out of here. Sun Hao turned around, took a step, and began to flee. However, he stopped before he could escape 2 steps. He found that there was a kind of force that was taking his body to run inside. Although he could see through all this, he had no means to crack it for the time being. This method was not an ancient formation, nor was it the power of heaven and earth. It was some kind of forbidden technique. This kind of forbidden technique required a huge price, and it took a long time to arrange. It seemed that the other party had been planning for a long time to deal with him. Since he couldn't escape, he could only meet him. I like to see who you are. Sun Hao showed a ruthless expression and ran forward at full speed. Now, he could only face it bravely. Time flew by, and soon half a day passed. Sun Hao stood in place, looking at the scene in front of him. For a while, he was stunned in place and did not react for a long time. The scene in front of him was too shocking. Chapter 533. In front of Sun Hao, green light lingered. Pieces of nether god crystal piled up, forming a giant pagoda. The pagoda was 1,000 meters high. It covered an area of several hundred meters. After a slight sense, the number of nether god crystals reached at least 1 billion. Around the pagoda, countless wisps of holy might circled around it, fluttering nonstop. It looked like butterflies flying all over the sky. The terrifying holy power piled up together, exuding an aura that made people unable to approach. Seeing this, Sun Hao's eyes bloomed with a strange light. We're rich. We're really rich. Sun Hao was about to step forward and rush forward. At this time, Jia, a laugh came. Sun Hao's scalp was numb, and his body retreated violently. However, it was too late. The surrounding ashes surged up rapidly, forming a giant white chain, locking Sun Hao in place in an instant. The ashes continued to fly, forming an ash giant, looking at Sun Hao coldly. Jia, the ash giant, looked up to the sky and laughed like crazy. Sun Hao, you didn't expect it, did you? You have this day too? I have been waiting for you here for 1,000,000 years, and you are finally here. Today, it will be the time when your soul flies away. Speaking of this, the ash giant let out a strange laugh again. It took a long time for him to calm down. Who are you? Sun Hao asked. Jia, the ash giant began to laugh again. It doesn't matter who I am. The important thing is that you will die here. Are you confused? Are you in pain? I will torture you like this, let you die with doubts, so that the hatred in my heart can be resolved. I know everything about you very well. You were a Tao ancestor in your previous life, with amazing means to kill everything. If it weren't for you, the Lord would not have died and been silent for so many years. However, all this is over, and the Dark Age will return to this world. Ha! The ash giant laughed leisurely and didn't calm down for a long time. Since you know me, you should know that you can't trap me with this. After saying this, bang! The gray chain on Sun Hao's body broke. He stepped out and stood directly in front of the ash giant. The ash giant was not surprised at this scene. He looked at Sun Hao calmly and said, Yes, of course I know. However, so what if you can break free? This tower is prepared for you. If it explodes, what do you think will happen? When these words came out, Sun Hao's body trembled. There was a hint of fear in his eyes as he looked at the huge tower that was formed from nether divine crystals. Such a terrifying explosion of energy would blast everything within hundreds of millions of miles of the dark blood star into nothingness. Of course, his soul would also be destroyed. It would probably not even have the possibility of being reconstructed after entering the Xianming Ocean. Could it be that you dare to detonate it? Sun Hao looked at the ash giant and said coldly, Of course not. I still want to live. However, if I can't survive, I will detonate it. If I could drag the Tao Ancestor down with me, my death will be worth it. The ash giant looked at Sun Hao and said with a smile, I'm afraid it's not enough to make me surrender with this. Sun Hao said, The ash giant looked up to the sky and laughed. Of course I know. However, everyone knows your weakness. That is, you value friendship too much. Am I right? The ash giant said. Sun Hao opened his mouth, but was unable to refute. He asked the ash giant, frowning and thinking, Could it be that he used some method to restrain the people important to him? Lu Xiao, Sun Wukong? This thought just came up. Buzz, heaven and earth trembled. Two figures appeared above the void. These two people were Lu Xiao and Sun Wukong. The two people's skulls were pierced by gray-white chains, and they were bound in the void, motionless. It seemed that their souls had been tortured to the point of no longer being human. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao clenched his fists, and anger kept rushing to his chest. "You're despicable." Sun Hao clenched his teeth and made a cracking sound. "Huh, you flatter me. You don't want to see them die in front of you, do you?" Sun Wukong was separated from his soul. Although he has his own consciousness, he is you. If he dies, can you feel at ease? As for Lu Xiao, you must have a familiar feeling, right? Let me tell you a secret. In your previous life, she was the closest person to you. You understand what I mean. The ash giant said one sentence at a time. Every sentence hit Sun Hao's weakness. He stood in place, his chest rising and falling violently. Anger rushed straight up from the soles of his feet and hovered in his chest. It seemed to burst his chest. "You must not die a good death." Sun Hao's voice echoed between heaven and earth. This sound jolted the two people who were originally in a daze back to their senses. Lu Xiao woke up first. When she saw the scene below, her soul trembled. "Big brother, don't worry about us, Run. Big brother, I'm an undead creature anyway. What if I die again?" The sound of your laughter was long, and it kept passing into Sun Hao's ears. Every sound made Sun Hao's body tremble. "Lu Xiao, don't say it, don't say it. I will definitely save you." Sun Hao's eyes were blood red, and he roared loudly. This sound also awakened Sun Wukong. He looked down, and after seeing everything clearly, he also roared. "Big brother, hurry. Run, he's a monster. Don't worry about us. We're not worthy of your care." Sun Wukong shouted at the top of his lungs. The ash giant looked at these, the corners of his mouth raised, and he was extremely proud. "How is it? Are you willing to surrender?" The ash giant said. "Surrender? Do you think you're worthy?" After saying this, Sun Hao disappeared in place. Looking at this scene, the ash giant's pupils shrank, and his face changed drastically. This is impossible. How can you still travel through space?" The ash giant looked at Sun Hao, showing a face of disbelief. He saw that Sun Hao had already appeared behind Sun Wukong, and he stretched out his finger and pointed forward. Boom! The chains binding Sun Wukong's body broke. Sun Wukong regained his freedom. His body fell down uncontrollably. Sun Hao took a step and appeared in front of Sun Wukong, stretching out his hands to hug him. "Second brother, you've suffered. You should rest first. Wait for me to save Lu Xiao." Sun Hao put Sun Wukong in the void, took a step, and ran toward Lu Xiao. However, he just took a step. Buzz, there was a shock. Sun Hao's scalp exploded, and his face changed drastically. He turned his head and looked, and his pupils shrank with a face of surprise. He saw, at the position of his heart on his back, Sun Wukong stretched out his claw, aimed at his back, and pressed it over. This claw carried a terrifying power that could tear a planet. Sun Hao had no time to react to this sudden blow. Chapter 534. Hee. The corners of the ash giant's mouth rose to a certain arc, and the pride was not concealed. Such a terrifying blow. Even if it was a saint, his soul would fly away and scatter. Coupled with the sneak attack, even if Sun Hao was strong, he could only end up dead. This is the result of your loyalty. Today, no one can save you. Sun Hao die. A cold voice sounded from Sun Hao's back. Sun Wukong used all his strength and struck frantically. He aimed at Sun Hao's back and blasted over. This terrifying blow was simply unavoidable and unavoidable. Seeing that this blow was about to hit Sun Hao's back. At this time, the power on Sun Wukong's fist disappeared. Behind Sun Hao, there were layers of ripples. The palm disappeared along with the ripples. Seeing this scene, the ash giant's face changed drastically, and a sense of uneasiness surged in his heart. Suddenly, his scalp exploded, and his body suddenly became stiff. Turning his head to look, his pupils contracted, and his face changed dramatically. He saw, Sun Wukong's fist appeared at the position of his heart on his back. There was simply no way to dodge or escape such a terrifying attack. "Quick, stop!" the ash giant roared. However, there was no time for his voice to be transmitted. Boom! There was an earth-shattering loud noise. The whole earth was trembling. The terrifying blow directly blasted the ash giant apart. Boom! The iron chains binding Lu Zhao's body all burst apart. Everything around, calmness was restored. Sun Hao held Lu Zhao and slowly floated down. "Big brother, this old man is either dead or seriously injured." Sun Wukong came forward and said happily. "Good job." Sun Hao patted Sun Wukong's shoulder and said with a smile. "Big brother is overpraising." Sun Wukong scratched his head, showing a touch of embarrassment. "Who?" Not far in front of Sun Hao, the ash giant condensed again. But this time, he looked dispirited and stared at Sun Wukong first. You dare to betray this seat. You will die a horrible death." The ash giant roared angrily. "Betrayal? Huh, so what?" Sun Wukong's voice was cold, and he didn't care at all. No matter what the ash giant said, he was not moved at all. The ash giant stared at Sun Hao. How did you persuade Sun Wukong to betray me?" The ash giant's face was filled with indignation. The ashes on his body floated around from time to time, and it was very difficult for them to gather together. "That's not because of my weakness," Sun Hao said calmly. "Weakness? Is it because you value friendship too much?" The ash giant asked. "Not bad. My weakness is also my strength. You don't value relationships at all. You only know how to make use of them. How could your subordinates be loyal to you?" "After Sun Wukong saw me, he secretly told me everything," Sun Hao said. "Pooh!" The ash giant spat out a mouthful of ash. He looked at Sun Hao, full of disbelief. He struggled to walk forward, staring coldly at the three of them. "So what if you've seriously injured me? As long as I detonate the Nether God Crystal Tower, all of you will perish." The ash giant stared at Sun Hao, as if to see panic in his eyes. However, he was disappointed. Sun Hao's expression did not change as he stood there calmly. He pointed to the Nether God Crystal Tower and looked at the ash giant with a smile. "Ash, please." The ash giant's chest was startled, and his expression changed. "Are you not afraid of death?" "No." Sun Hao shook his head slightly. "We are very afraid of death, but you are more afraid of death than us. Otherwise, you will not hide your soul in the ashes. Only with ashes in this world can you be resurrected. If you detonate the Nether God Crystal Tower, then you will die without a doubt. Am I right?" Sun Hao's voice pierced into the ash giant's chest like a silver needle. He opened his mouth but was unable to speak. He had planned for 1,000,000 years, but it turned out to be a joke. Everything was poked through by the other party. This feeling was simply too uncomfortable. Even so what? Don't tell me you still want to leave here. This Nether God Crystal Tower that I laid out can trap you," the ash giant said. "Is that so?" Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth, stretched out his finger, and pointed forward. A ray of lightning darted from his fingertips, rushed out quickly, and exploded around the Nether God Crystal Tower. Boom! The world trembled, and countless lightning rays wrapped the Nether God Crystal Tower. In the blink of an eye, all the holy power was blasted into powder. Without the protection of the holy power, the Nether God Crystal Tower became a masterless object. Ding! The Nether God Crystal separated from the tower and rushed towards Sun Hao like raindrops. From a distance, it looked like green butterflies flying all over the sky, which was very beautiful. Soon after, all the Nether God crystals were distributed into Sun Hao's soul space and disappeared completely. All around, calm was restored. Such a scene strongly stimulated the nerves of the ash giant. He stood in place blankly, showing an expression full of disbelief. He opened his mouth, but did not spit out a word. The Nether God crystal had a terrifying vitality. Such a terrifying energy, if he used it to devour, there would be a day when he would recover to his peak. Unexpectedly, all of them were collected by Sun Hao. Not a single one was left for himself. This feeling was like losing one's wife and losing one's soldiers. It was simply too uncomfortable. Ew, how is it possible? Even if you have the heavenly power, how can you erase all the holy power at once? The ash giant kept shaking his head, unwilling to believe everything in front of him. The corners of Sun Hao's mouth raised, and his face was full of smiles. This is thanks to you giving me time to talk nonsense for so long and secretly lay down tens of thousands of heavenly power. Puff! Another mouthful of ashes was spat out from the ash giant's mouth. Cracks appeared on his body, making it very difficult for them to gather back together. Finally, boom! There was a loud explosion. The ash giant directly broke apart, turned into flying ash, and disappeared above the sky. Sun Hao looked at these flying ashes, and the corners of his mouth raised slightly. Buzz! With a wave of his right hand, the ancient zither was held in his hand. Zhang, his fingertips plucked, and the sound of the zither came out continuously. With Sun Hao as the center, it swept the entire ancient burial ground. The flying ash in the surroundings, as if it had lost its buoyancy, slowly fell to the ground. The tin-colored light continued to be pulled out from Sun Hao's fingertips, sweeping the entire burial ground like rain. The originally barren burial ground actually grew big trees at a speed visible to the naked eye. The big trees covered the sky, and the vines grew wantonly. At a glance, it was a scene of exuberant vitality. The small spring rippled, and the birds sang. Not far away, there was a pool of rippling blue hot spring. The beautiful scenery was simply flawless. Lu Xiao looked around blankly, and for a moment, he was stunned in place. Chapter 535. Big Brother, can you give me some nether divine crystals to condense my body? Sun Wukong looked at Sun Hao with anticipation. Seeing Sun Wukong's appearance, Sun Hao patted his head. He actually forgot about this matter. All right, Sun Hao took out 1,000 nether divine crystals and handed them to Sun Wukong. Thank you, Big Brother. After receiving the nether deity crystal, Sun Wukong revealed a look of joy. Big Brother, I'm going to find a place to condense my body. Don't peek at me. With that, Sun Wukong leaped up and disappeared into the horizon. Hearing this, Sun Hao smiled and shook his head. She had been seen naked by him, but she didn't expect him to be embarrassed. Big Brother, I also want to form a fleshly body. Before he finished speaking, Sun Hao took out 1,000 nether divine crystals and handed them to Lu Xiao. Thank you, Big Brother. Lu Xiao didn't stand on ceremony with the nether god crystal in hand. He sat cross-legged on the ground and began to condense his physical body. Phew! Thousands of underworld divine crystals flew up together, shining a green light that wrapped Lu Xiao up. Taking a deep breath, Zhang Xian immediately felt refreshed and energized. Buzz, Lu Xiao also learned from Sun Hao and first began to condense the meridians. A heart with meridians covered the entire body. Following, there was a pile of flesh, blood, and internal organs. The last thing that appeared was his skin. When the whole body condensed and formed, Sun Hao stared blankly and didn't recover for a while. They saw. Lu Xiao's facial features were well-defined. Overall, he was so well-proportioned that there was not a single flaw to be found. Her skin was as delicate as agar. His entire body was flawless. Under the contrast of the hot spring, it emitted a brilliant luster. With just a single glance, one would be intoxicated and unable to extricate themselves. This woman should only exist in the heavens. When had she ever wandered into the mortal world? What Sun Hao was stunned was not Lu Xiao's beautiful appearance, but that face. She looked exactly like Huang Ruoming. Even his eyes were the color of sapphires, and his hair was also golden. With a flick of her beautiful hair, it overflowed with luster and was incomparably smooth. The only difference was that it didn't have pointy ears. Ruoming? Sun Hao was stunned and muttered to himself. His entire gaze was fixed on Lu Xiao. That fiery gaze was not concealed at all. Lu Xiao sat cross-legged, closed his eyes, and started to meditate. Phew! Waves of terrifying memories crashed into her soul like a tsunami. She frowned slightly. as if she was unwilling to accept those memories. After a long time, she opened her eyes. His eyes met Sun Hao's. That long-lost sense of familiarity and intimacy surged into his heart. Tears were brewing in Lu Zhao's eyes. How? An incomparably gentle voice sounded. Sun Hao's body trembled, and he looked at Lu Xiao blankly. Gotcha! The sound of an eggshell cracking rang out. Some of the memories sealed in Sun Hao's mind were like water released from a sluice gate, madly hitting Sun Hao's head. Xiao! He walked forward and caressed Lu Zhao's face as if she was his lover. Ow! Lu Xiao threw herself into Sun Hao's arms and hugged him tightly, unwilling to let go. Tears fell from her eyes and wet Sun Hao's clothes. I'm sorry. Sun Hao stroked Lu Zhao's hair and said gently, Hao, don't say sorry. I did it willingly. I didn't expect to be resurrected again. In this life, I can see you again. In death, there is no. Before she finished speaking, Sun Hao pressed his finger on Lu Zhao's lips to stop her from continuing. Fool, don't say any more. In this life, we will be together forever. After speaking, Sun Hao hugged Lu Xiao and kissed her deeply. Soon after, the clothes were taken off. An indescribable scene floated in the hot spring. Here, 100,000 words were omitted. This battle lasted for a full day and night. Even if they fought for more than a dozen rounds, Sun Hao didn't feel tired. The more the two fought, the braver they became, and their strength was also growing rapidly. This was the benefit of double cultivation. Otherwise, sensing that Sun Wukong was coming, Sun Hao and Lu Xiao would have to double cultivate for at least a few months. After putting on their clothes, the two crossed their fingers and held each other tightly. Happy smiles were written all over their faces. How? Can you tell me about your life in this life? Lu Xiao said. Of course. Then, Sun Hao spoke with confidence and composure, telling her about the things he encountered in this life without any reservations. Giggle. From time to time, Lu Xiao giggled. She looked at Sun Hao and gently stroked his face. Hao, you are so stupid. So many people revere you, and you don't even know. This can't be blamed on me. I thought I was just a mortal. How would I know that my power will protect me? Sun Hao scratched his head awkwardly. Stupid is stupid. You still don't believe it. Lu Xiao said. Okay, I'm stupid, okay? Sun Hao smiled and nodded. How? So many girls, you really haven't touched them? Even Miss Huang Rameng, you really haven't touched them? Lu Xiao looked at Sun Hao with a serious face. I swear to God, I really haven't. Sun Hao raised his hand and was about to swear when he was stopped by Lu Xiao. Okay, I'm kidding. Even if you touch them, that's your freedom. Miss Huang Rameng has attached so much for you. You can't let her down. Lu Xiao said, You are enough in this life. Sun Hao looked serious. As for Rameng, there is no way to return her in this life, but I will resurrect her. You are such a fool. Why doesn't it make sense? Take me to see Miss Rameng. Lu Xiao said. Okay. Sun Hao waved his right hand and disappeared with Lu Xiao. When he appeared again, he came to the soul space. When Lu Xiao saw Huang Rameng, he couldn't help but stagnate. Why does she look so much like me? Lu Xiao asked. Actually, I'm also surprised. Speaking of this, Sun Hao's eyes seemed to penetrate hundreds of millions of miles. Actually, there's another person who looks like you. Sun Hao said. There is another person? Who is it? Lu Xiao asked. Her name is Xue Mei, and she should be in the human world now. Sun Hao said. Is she from the Goblin clan? Lu Xiao asked. No, her life is a mystery. When we resurrect Rameng, we will go to find her. What do you think? Sun Hao asked. Of course. Lu Xiao nodded, showing a dignified expression. How? The three of us look so similar. I'm afraid things are not as simple as we think. Lu Xiao said. I understand. Sun Hao gently held Lu Xiao's hand with a firm face. In this life, no matter what, no one can separate us. And me too. Lu Xiao nodded, looked at Huang Rameng, and pointed at her, and Miss Rameng. This, Sun Hao was speechless for a while. Shower, you are enough in this life. Sun Hao said. No, you must marry Miss Rameng. I can't stand it alone. Lu Xiao's voice was getting smaller and smaller, so low that even he couldn't hear it. Hearing this, Sun Hao showed a sudden realization. Chapter 536. Greetings, young master. The neat voice shook the air. Led by Zhang Ge, nearly 10,000 dark knights knelt in front of Sun Hao and shouted respectfully. Sun Hao looked at the tens of thousands of troops and nodded slightly. Get up. Thank you, young master. Everyone got up. Do you want to be human again? Sun Hao's voice was not loud, but it blasted into everyone's soul flame like thunder. Their soul flames trembled, and their bodies trembled. Excitement filled everyone's mind. It was everyone's dream to be able to be human again. Of course I am willing. Thank you, young master. I have been looking forward to this day and night. Is this day finally coming? Excited voices kept ringing. Sun Hao looked at their excited appearance, and the corners of his mouth raised slightly. You sit down first, Sun Hao said. Yes, young master. A group of dark knights sat down and looked at Sun Hao excitedly. Next, it is to temper your soul flame. Whether you can evolve into a soul or not, it all depends on your luck. Sun Hao's voice rolled out like thunder. With a wave of his right hand, thousands of holy power rolled out and surged across the sky. The terrifying holy power fell like rain, pressing on everyone's body, and suddenly seemed to be imprisoned, unable to move. They roared with all their strength, frantically resisting this terrifying holy power. Their soul flames, under this pressure, became purer and purer. Around the holy power, a stream of pure soul energy poured into everyone's soul flame like rain. Although the soul flame was consumed violently under the holy power, under this growth, the soul flame did not decrease, but increased, becoming stronger and stronger. Kacha, the sound of the realm membrane shattering sounded. Many people's soul flames grew to the 9th rank. However, it did not stop. Under the pressure of the holy power, the 9th rank soul flame grew again and turned gray. Sounds of tremors rang out incessantly. Every single one of them caused heaven and earth to rumble. One soul after another quickly condensed and formed. As time went by, the soul flames of tens of thousands of dark knights all turned into souls. No one was left behind. Looking at this scene, Sun Hao nodded with satisfaction. The next step is to condense the flesh. Condense according to my method. Sun Hao said one sentence at a time, saying all the secrets of condensing the flesh. His voice was clearly transmitted into everyone's mind. As they listened to these words, they secretly memorized them. Phew! Sun Hao's mind moved, and nearly 100 million nether divine crystals flew in the air. Sizzle! The green light poured down like rain. It enveloped every dark knight. Heart, meridians, flesh, and blood. Internal organs, the last thing to condense was the skin. With a single glance, one could see that her flesh was all over the place. It was simply indescribably beautiful. Sun Hao was surprised to find that these dark knights were all girls. Even Jingui was a girl. Are you stunned? At this time, a voice sounded behind Sun Hao. Hearing this, Sun Hao's body trembled, and he looked back at Lu Xiao. Wife, I'm really stunned. I didn't expect that they were all girls. How? Do you want to call two to accompany you for double cultivation tonight? Lu Xiao looked at Sun Hao with a faint smile. Wife, who do you think I am? You are enough. Sun Hao waved his hand again and again. Then why did you leave them naked? Hurry up and make clothes for them to wear. Lu Xiao snorted coldly. Yes, wife. Sun Hao smiled and nodded. With a wave of his right hand, textile machines filled the entire sky. Clang! Under Sun Hao's control, these textile machines worked quickly. Pieces of multicolored flowing cloth condensed and formed in the sky. However, this was not the end. These pieces of cloth actually moved automatically, forming indescribable clothes, covering each dark night. Each piece of clothing was extremely well proportioned with each dark night, setting off the curves of the body, which was indescribably beautiful. At a glance, it was beautiful. I have recovered my physical body. Incredible. It turns out that I am a woman. I really didn't expect it. The clothes that the young master gave us turned out to be sacred weapons, my God. The young master created 10,000 sacred weapons in vain. What kind of existence is the young master? Admiring eyes kept sweeping over. Jean Guet's beautiful eyes flickered, and a touch of redness appeared on his face. Looking at Sun Hao was like looking at a master. Young master, your great kindness, Xiaoyu will never forget in her life. From today on, we are your people, at your disposal. Jean Guet muttered to herself. It took a long time to calm down. She turned back and looked at the tens of thousands of dark knights. All of them. Huh! Tens of thousands of dark knights moved in unison. Under the leadership of Jean Guet, these dark knights stood neatly in front of Sun Hao and saluted with their fists. Young master's great kindness, there is no way to repay. At young master's disposal. The roar resounded through heaven and earth. Sun Hao listened to this and nodded slightly. Jean Guet. Sun Hao shouted. This general is here. Jean Guet stood forward. Have you recovered your memory? Sun Hao asked. Ah. Jean Guet looked startled, then nodded slightly. Then do you have any other names? The name Jean Guet doesn't suit you very well. Sun Hao said. Young master, this general's real name is Song Yu. You can call me Xiaoyu. Jean Guet said. Xiaoyu? Good name, this suits you. Sun Hao nodded, looked at Song Yu, and showed a dignified look. Song Yu. This general is here. Reorganize the army, and follow me to hell in half an hour. Yes, young master. Song Yu retreated, stood in front of the crowd, and began to arrange. Sun Wukong heard this and came forward. Big brother, are you going to attack hell? Sun Wukong asked. Sort of. Sun Hao nodded slightly. Big brother, hell is the place where the ruler of the land lives. It is extremely dangerous. If we go there rashly, I'm afraid. Sun Wukong wanted to say something, but stopped. Extremely dangerous? How dangerous? Sun Hao asked. Big brother, there are 2 saints guarding hell. Our strength is only at the God Emperor realm. I'm afraid we are not their opponents. Sun Wukong said. Saints? Sun Hao frowned slightly. Unexpectedly, there were 2 saints in the land. Above the God Emperor was the saint. Although his strength was strong, his true strength was only at the God Emperor realm. It was barely enough to deal with a saint. There was basically no possibility of winning against 2. However, he was not going to find trouble with them, but to go to the Xianming Sea and grab Huang Ruming's soul fragment. Just in case, he still had to prepare. Saints? Which 2 saints are there? Sun Hao asked. Young master, the 2 saints in hell are Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva and Emperor Feng, Duke Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Before entering hell, his strength was not weaker than Tathagata. After so many years, his strength is inestimable. As for Emperor Fengdu, no one knows how strong he is. Sun Wukong said. Chapter 537. Big brother, Emperor Fengdu has only fought twice in his life. Both times, his opponents died. It's fine if he doesn't fight, but once he does, he'll destroy his opponent's soul. During the Dark Era, he was the one who killed 2 of the Dark Taboo generals. With him guarding the infernal realm, no one would dare to cause trouble for him. Big brother, if there's no need, don't offend the great Emperor of Fengdu. Sun Wukong persuaded Sun Hao. Sun Hao frowned, and his eyes were dignified. For a while, he couldn't think of a good way. Huang Ruming had to be saved. She couldn't wait to reassemble her soul fragments in the mysterious underworld sea. Otherwise, there would be no way to reverse the situation. How? What he said makes sense. Why don't you recover to your peak first? Lu Xiao looked at Sun Hao and also began to persuade. No, we don't have enough time. Sun Hao revealed a solemn expression. It seems like only a year has passed since I entered the Dark Blood Star. In fact, it's definitely more than that. I can see that decades have passed in the human world. Before long, Ru Meng's soul fragments will be reassembled. Then, we won't be able to save her. In addition, I feel that there is something waiting for me in the mysterious underworld ocean. If I'm not wrong, the power I left behind should be inside. Sun Hao looked at Lu Xiao and said seriously, If that's the case, Hao, I'll go with you. Even if I die, I want to die with you. Lu Xiao said, Fool, don't talk about death so easily. It wasn't easy for me to survive, so I'll keep living. When the world is calm again, let's travel the universe together and explore all the unknown. What do you think? Sun Hao said. All right, a Hao. Lu Xiao smiled and nodded, leaning her head on Sun Hao's shoulder, happiness written all over her face. In another quarter of an hour, we will set off. Sun Hao said, Yes, big brother. Somewhere in the void of the universe, in the Earth realm. Phew, a spinning black hole devoured all light. The kind of power that could devour everything made one's scalp go numb. On this day, buzz, ripples suddenly appeared in front of the black hole. An army walked out of the ripples and stood in front of the black hole. This army was headed by Sun Hao. Big brother, this is the entrance to hell. Wuquang pointed at the black hole and said, Entrance to hell? Sun Hao looked at the black hole and nodded slightly. Without any hesitation, he stepped forward. Phew! An attraction that devoured everything surged through Sun Hao's whole body. Sun Hao only felt that the sky and earth were spinning, and he came to a space. Phew! Waves of heat assaulted their faces, causing their bodies to become restless. A putrid stench came from all around, causing one's stomach to churn uncontrollably and their entire body to feel uncomfortable. Sun Hao narrowed his eyes and scanned the space. He couldn't help but frown slightly. This space was a blood-red land. On the ground, there were ravines everywhere. At the bottom of the gully, a thick liquid was rippling and emitting a fishy smell from time to time. It looked like human blood. In the sky, a black vortex was faintly discernible. Phew! A moment later, tens of thousands of troops followed closely behind Sun Hao. They looked around with furrowed brows and ugly expressions. Let's go. After everyone adapted, Sun Hao found a direction and stepped forward. He had only taken a few steps. Layers of ripples appeared in the void ahead, and several figures walked out of the ripples. These figures, some white and some black, with long tongues hanging directly to their waists, tall hats, and looking at the customers, they were 1 meter tall. It seemed that there was no difference between black and white impermanence. Black and white impermanence. Sun Wuquang's voice trembled a little. Aren't black and white impermanence two people? Why are there so many people? Sun Hao was puzzled. Young master, were they people? Black and white impermanence has thousands of incarnations. These are just the black and white impermanence clones. Sun Wuquang said in a low voice. Clones? Sun Hao nodded slightly, revealing a look of sudden realization. Who are you? As a living person, you dare to break into hell? Do you think our inferno is a decoration? A black impermanence pointed at Sun Hao and scolded loudly. Presumptuous. Song Yu stood up directly and pressed forward with a finger. Stomp, stomp. This black impermanence's body stepped straight back, and it took a lot of strength to stabilize his figure. Such a scene strongly stimulated the nerves of all the black and white impermanents. They looked at Sun Hao and the others, showing a look full of disbelief. Who are you waiting for? Hell is a place of reincarnation and can't tolerate any disturbance. The attitude of the black and white impermanence obviously eased. Sun Hao smiled slightly, looked at the black impermanence, and said, This seat has no intention of disturbing you. This time, I came here to meet Feng Du, Great Emperor. Please help introduce me. What? All the black and white impermanents showed a look of surprise. Feng Du, Great Emperor. He had never seen him. He was a living person, and he also wanted to see Feng Du, Great Emperor. What a joke. Feng Du, Great Emperor is not someone you can see whenever you want. Do you have a Great Emperor's token? If not, please go back quickly. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. The black and white impermanence's voice was cold, and killing intent emerged on their bodies. Although there was no physical body, the cold intent made everyone tremble in this warm place. Presumptuous. My young master still needs his token to see Feng Du. Song Yu took a step forward and swung out a slap. Pa-pa! Several crisp sounds rang out in a row. These black and white impermanents, their bodies flew upside down and fell heavily to the ground. They struggled for a long time before standing up. The illusory figure dimmed a lot. They looked at Song Yu with a face full of fear. Oomph! One of the black impermanents snorted coldly, took out a black token and instantly crushed it. Woo! The moment the black token exploded, an alarm sounded throughout hell. I advise you to leave quickly. When the army arrives, it won't be so easy for you to leave. The black and white impermanents obviously didn't want to make things bigger and began to persuade. This seat has something important to see Feng do, Great Emperor. Those who dare to stop this seat, kill. Sun Hao stood forward and released his breath. Whew! The terrifying pressure, like a tsunami, pounced on the black and white impermanents. At this moment, their bodies seemed to be imprisoned, and it was extremely difficult to move. Panic was written all over their faces. Such a terrifying pressure. He must be a god emperor. The god emperor is here in person. My eyes are blind. Please spare this little one's life. God emperor, I will go and inform immediately. These voices together, the pressure that shrouded them disappeared. Who? Several figures fled in a sorry state, vanishing without a trace. Big brother, it's not good for us to expose our strength like this, right? Sun Wukong asked. Don't worry, if we don't expose our strength, when can we see the main character? Sun Hao asked. In case of a fight, it will be bad for us. Sun Wukong said. In their territory, they will not take the initiative to fight. Sun Hao showed a confident look. Chapter 538. Who dares to act so impudently in my underworld? A thunderous boom shook heaven and earth. Immediately after, thousands of silhouettes floated over with the wind like ghosts. The leading figure was Qin Guangwang. The Yama Kings of the 10 palaces stood on his back. There were several infernal judges standing behind each Yama King. Behind them were some ox heads and horse faces. At a glance, there were thousands of them. Every ox head and horse face had explosive muscles on their bodies. They looked mighty and extraordinary. You're the one who's presumptuous. Hurry up and greet the young master after seeing him. Song Yu stood out and pointed at Qin Guangwang with a cold voice. As soon as these words came out, the surroundings became deathly silent. Everyone stared at Song Yu with disbelief and shock on their faces. In hell, even Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva had to treat King Qingguang with respect. At this moment, not only did this human not show any respect, he even asked King Qingguang to pay his respects. An incident like this was simply unheard of and unseen. The corner of King Qingguang's mouth twitched as anger surged in his chest. The judge of life and death behind him immediately understood. He took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of Qin Guangwang. This is the consequence of being disrespectful to King Guang. The judge of life and death took out the book of life and death and shown it at Song Yu. However, there was no response from the book of life and death. The life and death judge's expression changed. He looked at Song Yu, his pupils shrinking. Who are you? Why isn't your name in the book of life and death? Song Yu did not react to the judge of life and death surprise. The corners of her lips curled up. She stretched out her hand unhurriedly and aimed a slap at the judge of life and death. Pa! A crisp sound rang out. The judge of life and death was sent flying, crashing heavily into the ground. He struggled for a long time, but was unable to stand up. He looked at Song Yu with a look of disbelief. You're also a god emperor? These words were like a clap of thunder. The entire scene instantly erupted into an uproar. What? A subordinate is actually a god emperor? We are only at the god king realm. How can we be their match? From the looks of it, only the 10 Yama Kings are qualified to fight against them. I thought that the black and white impermanents were lying, but now it seems that I really can't be too real. What should we do? What if we fight later? Cries of surprise could be heard. The 10 Inferno Kings looked at Sun Hao and the others, and their expressions changed. Big brother, I'm afraid this kid isn't simple. With our strength, I'm afraid we won't be able to defeat him. That's right, big brother. One subordinate is already so terrifying. He has 10,000 subordinates like this. We can't even see through a single one of them. Big brother, I'm afraid this person's identity isn't simple. It's best if we report this matter to Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva as soon as possible. The 10 Yama Kings surrounded King Qingguang and whispered. Hearing this, King Qingguang's expression changed. I understand what you're saying, but Ksiddhartha Bodhisattva is in the middle of purifying evil souls. How could he have the time? He already said that as long as there is no threat to hell, nothing can disturb him. Qin Guangwang said, Big brother, what should we do? There's no other way. I'll have to figure out his intentions first before thinking of a way to get rid of him. If it really doesn't work, I'll just have to fight him. Hearing King Qingguang's voice, the 10 Yama kings nodded in unison and did not say anything else. Qin Guangwang took a few steps forward and stood in front of Song Yu. May I ask who you are? King Qingguang clasped his fist and bowed to show respect. Song Yu took a few steps to the side, and Sun Hao stepped forward. Can you make the decision? Sun Hao asked. What do you mean? As the 10 Yama kings of hell, we make the decision for everything? I don't know why you came to my hell. King Qingguang asked. It's very simple. I'm going to the Xianming Sea. As soon as these words came out, there was a shock all around. Everyone's expression was one of astonishment. They looked at Sun Hao, opened their mouths wide, and murmured for a long time without saying a word. For a long time. This guy wants to go to the Xianming Sea. What do you think we are? The Xianming Sea is a place to reorganize the soul, and it can't be disturbed by others. That's right, the Xianming Sea can't be contaminated with vitality. Otherwise, hell will be unstable, and even the boundary will collapse. Such an insult to my hell. Even if the soul flies away, we can't let him succeed. The whole scene was like a pot of boiling. Every oxhead and horseface pointed at Sun Hao and shouted. Under King Qingguang's constant waving, the surroundings gradually quieted down. Why do you want to go to the Xianming Sea? King Qingguang asked. I have a friend who died, and I have to go to the Xianming Sea to capture her soul. Sun Hao answered truthfully. So that's how it is. King Qingguang nodded. I didn't expect you to be a person who values friendship and righteousness. However, the Xianming Sea is a place to reorganize soul fragments. You should know, right? King Qingguang asked. Of course. Sun Hao nodded. Then do you know that the Xianming Sea can't be contaminated with any vitality, otherwise it will cause chaos in the Xianming Sea. At that time, I'm afraid the boundary will collapse, and countless souls will be destroyed. For your friend, you value friendship and righteousness. Do you need countless creatures in the earth to resurrect your friend? King Qingguang's words made Sun Hao speechless. The Xianming Sea can't be contaminated with vitality. Is this true? Or are they talking nonsense and deceiving me? Big brother, I have never heard that the Xianming Sea can't be contaminated with vitality. They must be lying. At this time, Sun Wuquang's voice came into Sun Hao's ears. Hearing Sun Wuquang's words, Sun Hao nodded slightly. What do you mean by anger? Sun Hao asked. Vitality is vitality and also the power of life. As a life, you have caused great damage to this place by entering hell. The Xianming Sea, as the extreme place of death, can't be contaminated with any vitality. King Qingguang said. Sun Hao released his thoughts, and his divine sense swept around. Soon after, he immediately withdrew it. On his face, there was an incomparably dignified expression. Just now, when he spied, he found that many places in hell had collapsed. Vitality seemed to be a disaster for hell. It seemed that King Qingguang didn't lie. In other words, he did something to prove that what he said was true. Then how can I enter the Xianming Sea? Sun Hao asked. Unless the soul enters it, it won't be destroyed. King Qingguang said. Isn't that simple? Sun Hao's thoughts moved, and he threw his body into the soul space. His whole soul left the body and fell in front of King Qingguang. What do you think now? Sun Hao asked. King Qingguang looked startled, opened his mouth, and was unable to answer. Your soul state won't cause damage to the Xianming Sea. However, the Xianming Sea is guarded by Emperor Fengdu, and no soul can approach. Hearing these words, Sun Hao's chest rose and fell violently. Chapter 539. Buzz, there was a tremor. A terrifying aura, centered on Sun Hao, spread out to all directions. He walked towards Qingguang Wang step by step, suppressing the anger in his chest as if he was going to explode. At the end of the day, You won't let me enter the Xianming Ocean. I wasted so much saliva talking to you. Do you really think I'm a clay figurine that you can pinch whenever you want? According to your rules, why are you making excuses? Oomph, Sun Hao snorted coldly. Bang! Qin Guangwang's body flew out uncontrollably and landed heavily on the ground. His body cracked from the impact, and his phantom image became much dimmer. He struggled for a long time, but was unable to stand up. Such a scene. It strongly stimulated the nerves of all the Yama kings. They looked at Sun Hao, unable to believe everything in front of them. How is this possible? We're both God Emperors, but you managed to injure Big Brother with just a few words? This means is not any weaker than that of a sage. This is going to be troublesome. So he's a saint. What should we do? Cries of surprise could be heard continuously. They looked at Sun Hao as if looking at a terrifying monster. Phew! Qin Guangwang's body flew out uncontrollably and landed in front of Sun Hao. His body was shackled, and no matter what he did, he was unable to break free. Just because I didn't make a move doesn't mean I'm afraid of you. Since we're going to fight, then let's beat him until the heavens and earth shatter. If you want to stand out, then die. Sun Hao squeezed King Qin Guang's neck tightly and roared loudly. This scene strongly stimulated their eyeballs. Fear was written all over everyone's face. No, don't, Big Brother. Release Guangwang. Angry roars kept ringing out. They used all their strength and couldn't break free from Sun Hao's bondage. They could only watch helplessly as Sun Hao pinched King Qin Guang to death. He was about to crush King Qin Guang into nothingness. At this moment, buzz, there was a shock, and a golden light surged into Sun Hao's hand. Sun Hao's pinching hand seemed to be blocked by a terrifying force, and it was difficult to pinch down at all. Phew! A figure slowly appeared. He wore a red kasaya and had a round head and fat ears. His 2 earlobes were as long as his ears. He was Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. As soon as he appeared, the shackles on everyone's body shattered. Greetings, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. The 10 Yama kings all knelt down and kowtowed. Amitabha, you don't have to be so polite. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva put his palms together and bowed slightly. He turned around and stared directly at Sun Hao. He smiled at Sun Hao and said, Benefactor, saving a life is better than building a 7-story pagoda. King Qin Guangwang controls the reincarnation cycle of hell and the laws of the earth realm, allowing it to grow and multiply endlessly. There are very few who can compare to the vastness of his merits. Killing King Qin Guangwang like this will result in a great sin. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's voice boomed, reaching everyone's ears and making them feel comfortable. The killing intent in his heart disappeared without a trace. However, these were useless to Sun Hao. Can you decide? Sun Hao looked at Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva and said. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva was taken aback. Then he smiled and nodded. Benefactor, why have you come to hell? Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva asked. You know the answer. Sun Hao snorted coldly. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva was slightly startled, and a hint of anger flashed across his face. His Buddhist voice had no effect on him at all. This person was definitely not simple. However, since you dare to cause trouble in hell, I'm not someone to be trifled with. Benefactor, do you wish to go to the Xianming Ocean? Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva asked. Not bad. Sun Hao nodded. No. As soon as these words fell, Sun Hao stretched out his palm, shaped like a claw hook, and rushed straight to Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. He did not give Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva any time to react. This was completely against martial ethics. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's pupils constricted, and his expression changed drastically. He quickly retreated. However, it was too late. Ding! The sound of metal clashing rang out. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva staggered backward. He had to use a lot of strength to stabilize himself. He looked at Sun Hao as if looking at a terrifying monster. A god emperor was actually able to force him back? Who would believe it if word of this got out? Who was he? Why did he have the strength to challenge those of a higher level? Confusion was written all over Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's face. Sun Hao was also slightly startled. He looked at Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva and said, "My friend must be resurrected. If anyone dares to stop me, even if it is Emperor Fengdu, I will not spare it. Even if the whole world is buried with me, I will resurrect my friend." The cold and ruthless voice came out leisurely, echoing throughout hell. When Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva heard this, his face changed again and again. "Benefactor, your killing intent is too heavy. Please listen to me, chanting sutras." Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva sat cross-legged on the ground, put his hands together, and began to chant sutras. Blah, blah, the wind and the rain. Sutras spat out from Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's mouth like golden butterflies circling around Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Each sutra carried the power of Saint Chi, surging throughout the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Oh, these sutras sprinkled terrifying power like rain, covering the entire hell. The 10 Inferno kings and others put their hands together, sat cross-legged on the ground, and began to attract these forces. Each of their faces revealed a look of relief. In contrast to them, it was Sun Hao's side. Everyone seemed to be under a terrifying pressure. Song Yu and others frowned, gritting their teeth and holding on. Their legs trembled, and their whole bodies trembled as if they would fall at any time. "Big brother, I can't stand it anymore." Sun Wukong was the first to fall to the ground. After twitching a few times, he fainted. "How Lu Xiao gritted her teeth and held on, but the pressure was too intense, and she could no longer support it. Seeing that, Lu Xiao was about to fall too. At this time, Sun Hao waved his right hand. This army of nearly 10,000 disappeared in place, all sent into Sun Hao's soul space. Only Sun Hao was left standing in place. Looking at the sutras in the sky, Sun Hao shook his head slightly. "Where are you chanting sutras? Let me accompany you to chant sutras." After speaking, Sun Hao sat cross-legged on the ground and put his hands together. "Saraira, emptiness is not different from color, and color is not different from emptiness." Sutras flew out of Sun Hao's mouth. Each sutra emitted 10 colors of light. The profound power of Saint Chi covered the entire sutra. These sutras flew quickly, piling up a huge Buddha in the sky. The Buddha's greatness was indescribable. On the Buddha's body, 10 colors of light sprinkled all over the world. It looked incomparably sacred. This Buddha was Burning Lamp. Buzz, a vibration awakened Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. He looked up, and his pupils shrank, and his face changed dramatically. How is this possible? Burning Lamp Buddha, how are you still alive? Chapter 540. Greetings, Buddha Dipankara. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva knelt in front of Randang and kowtowed. Dipankara Buddha harumphed coldly with a hint of anger in his voice. Following the voice, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's body trembled uncontrollably. "You know that I'm the Buddha?" Dipankara Buddha's voice was like thunder, causing Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's body to shake. "Your disciple will always remember Buddha Dipankara." This disciple thought that you had gone. Tears streamed down Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's face. "Of course you want me to go." Randang snorted coldly. "Buddha, why do you say that? This disciple will always remember you. Back then, when Tathagata wanted to usurp your position as the Buddha, I even fought with him. However, it wasn't empty, so I came to hell," said Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Randang nodded slightly. "Even so, you are not worthy of forgiveness." Buddha Dipankara's voice was cold. "Buddha, what is the meaning of this? What did I do wrong? Please point it out. I will definitely change." Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva said. "Change? You even dare to hit my master? How will you change it?" These 2 sentences were not loud, but they were like thunder from the 9 heavens, causing Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's body to tremble violently. He widened his eyes and stared at Sun Hao in a daze. For a while, he did not come back to his senses. "Master? That young master is the master of the Buddha, so you're saying that I hit the patriarch? My head must have been hit by a pig. How dare you do this? My God, what have I done?" Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's voice trembled as his entire body trembled violently. Many ox heads, horse faces, black and white impermanents had the same expression as him. Even the 10 Yama Kings of the 10 palaces could only stare blankly at this scene with their eyes wide open. That kind of shock, that kind of daze. Words could not describe it. After a long while, the sound of people sucking in a breath of cold air rose and fell. Everyone stared at Sun Hao, and for a while, they couldn't come back to their senses. Oh my God, that kid, Tui, that young master, is actually the master of Buddha Dipankara? I didn't hear wrongly, right? In this world, there's actually someone who could be the master of Dipankara Buddha? Who exactly is he? This is unbelievable. Cries of surprise rang out continuously. A mysterious look appeared on everyone's face. They looked at Sun Hao motionless. Ksitigarbha struggled to stand up. She staggered and nearly fell to the ground. He felt as if all his energy had been sucked dry. Buddha, who is your master? Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva asked. My master is naturally the Tao Ancestor. His voice wasn't loud, but it was full of vigor. The entire scene was dead silent. Oxhead and Horseface eyes seemed to be about to pop out as the horses neighed and roared. The group of judges stared blankly at Sun Hao. Even though they were only phantoms, the appearance of them wiping cold sweat kept appearing. The 10 infernal kings collapsed to the ground as if they had been drained of all their strength. My ancestor, I actually fought with a Tao Ancestor. During the Dark Age, if not for the Tao Ancestor, how could we still be alive? Yes, it can be said that everything we have was given to us by the Tao Ancestor. I actually want to stop such a person. It's simply a slap. I regret it. I really regret it. Voices of self-blame rang out continuously. Plop. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva staggered and knelt in front of Sun Hao. His whole expression was extremely pious. Greetings, Tao Ancestor. Greetings, Tao Ancestor. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva spoke first, leading everyone in hell to kneel in front of Sun Hao. His pious appearance was indescribable in words. Oomph. Sun Hao snorted coldly. This sound was not loud, but it made everyone tremble. Not good. The Tao Ancestor was angry. It's over, it's over. We are definitely finished. The Tao Ancestor was angry. The sky and the earth cracked. How can we still have a chance to survive? What should we do? Tao Ancestor, I know my mistake. I have eyes but failed to see. Please blame me if you want to blame, and give me a death sentence. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva knelt in front of Sun Hao and kept begging for mercy. Get up. This seat is not a stingy person. Ignorance is not a sin. These two sounds were like sounds of nature, ringing in the ears of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, and his whole body was extremely comfortable. He looked at Sun Hao with admiration and awe, like a surging river, continuous. The broad-mindedness of the Tao Ancestor was indescribable in words. I attacked the Tao Ancestor like this, but he didn't blame me at all. Sure enough, the higher the status, the bigger the scope. Tao Ancestor, thank you. In the future, I will follow your example and live to save the world. The light of worship kept sweeping over. Everyone stood up in turn and stood respectfully in front of Sun Hao. Ksitigarbha, Dipankara Buddha looked at Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva and shouted, Disciple is here. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva hurriedly stepped forward. No matter what the master does, there is naturally a reason for the master. Even if the master wants us to die, we must not frown. What we need to do is to cooperate fully. Do you understand what I mean? Dipankara Buddha said. Disciple understands. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva repeatedly clasped his fists. The Tao Ancestor is the existence that saved the 3 realms. How can we compare with his breadth of mind? Hearing this, Sun Hao showed a touch of embarrassment. That was what he did in his previous life, and it had nothing to do with him. Now he was very selfish. With such awareness, that's enough. Dipankara Buddha nodded slightly, turned around, and looked at Sun Hao. Young master, it seems that I am not needed here. Why don't I go first? Dipankara Buddha looked at Sun Hao, showing a questioning look. Yes, you go first. Sun Hao waved his hand and motioned for Dipankara Buddha to leave. The sky trembled, and Dipankara Buddha's body collapsed, turning into pieces of scriptures and gradually disappeared. When Dipankara Buddha left, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva came forward and stood respectfully in front of Sun Hao. Tao Ancestor, if you have any requirements, just tell me. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva said, There are no requirements. Just take this seat to the Xianming Sea. Sun Hao said, Okay, Tao Ancestor. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva nodded again and again. With a glance, all the kings of hell made way for him. Tao Ancestor, would you like me to introduce you to the Xianming Sea? Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva asked with enthusiasm. You say. Sun Hao nodded. Tao Ancestor, I want to introduce the functions of this Xianming Sea. I'll introduce you to the person who guards it. His name is Fengdu, an old stubborn man, and his strength is far above mine. Even if you go, I'm afraid he won't want you to get close to the Xianming Sea. You must have a big battle with him. However, I know his weakness. Speaking of this, the air in front of him was distorted. Immediately afterward, a figure appeared in front of Sun Hao. Ksitigarbha, what are you saying about this seat? Chapter 541. In the center of the infernal realm, there was an underworld ocean. On the surface of the mysterious underworld sea, purple mist rose in spirals, looking exceptionally illusory. The seawater was dark purple and slowly rotated in a clockwise direction. The vortex in the center was pitch black and looked like a black hole. In the sky above the mysterious underworld sea, there was a figure wearing a purple robe and a crown. Just by standing there, he gave people the feeling that he was the ruler of the world. This person was none other than the great emperor of Fengdu, who ruled over hell. He clasped his hands behind his back and looked at the Xianming Sea with a thoughtful expression. It's been 100,000 years. I wonder when he will come here. Only he can open that inheritance. The emperor of Fengdu muttered to himself with hope in his eyes. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows. He waved his right hand. Buzz, there was a tremor above the Xianming Ocean, and a scene appeared in front of the emperor of Fengdu in the picture. It was everything about Sun Hao and Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Emperor Fengdu looked at Sun Hao, and his eyes bloomed with infinite brilliance. This is a Tao Father. He actually came. After 100,000 years, he's finally here. The emperor of Fengdu was so excited that his body trembled, and it took him a long time to calm down. After taking a few deep breaths, the emperor of Fengdu regained his composure. He waved his right hand. Buzz, ripples appeared in the air. Without any hesitation, Emperor Fengdu took a step forward and entered the ripples. Emperor Fengdu instantly disappeared in place, and when he appeared again, he had already arrived in front of Sun Hao. Ksitigarbha, what are you saying about me again? Emperor Fengdu pretended to be angry and asked. Fengdu, this is a Tao Ancestor. Why aren't you bowing when you see him? Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva secretly gathered his strength and prepared to attack at any moment. Tao Father, is this young master really a Tao Father? Tao Ancestor, please accept Fengdu's bow. After so many years, I've finally met you. Great Emperor Fengdu knelt directly in front of Sun Hao and kept kowtowing. This scene directly shocked Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva to the spot. His face was filled with disbelief and shock. What happened to being stubborn? What happened to protecting the mysterious underworld ocean to the death? The stubborn old man who didn't know how to be flexible now? He was prepared to fight to the death with him. Was he thinking too much? For a moment, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva was flabbergasted. Sun Hao looked at great Emperor Fengdu and was also stunned in place. This was completely different from the legendary Emperor of Fengdu. Sensing Sun Hao's doubts, Emperor Fengdu stood up. Tao Ancestor, I guarded the Xianming Ocean just to wait for you to come. Inside that place is the inheritance that you left behind. Only you are allowed to enter. Since you're here, this lowly one's mission is complete. Emperor Fengdu's words were filled with sincerity. Sun Hao listened to this and nodded secretly. So that was how it was. This guy was actually helping him guard the inheritance. Good job, worthy of praise. When he broke through, he would help him break through as well. Sun Hao secretly made a decision. Lead the way, Sun Hao said. Yes, Tao Ancestor. Emperor Feng Du waved his right hand, and layers of ripples appeared in the space in front of him. Tao Ancestor, please. The great Emperor of Feng Du made an inviting gesture. Without hesitation, Sun Hao strode into the ripples. Great Emperor Feng Du followed closely behind. The last one to step in was Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Buzz. The three figures disappeared, and the surroundings returned to calm again. The 10 Inferno Kings stared blankly at this scene and breathed a long sigh of relief. I didn't expect that I would be able to see the Tao Ancestor in this life, and I have no regrets in this life. Yes, the Tao Ancestor is not only powerful, but his mind is also extremely broad, and no one can match him. This kind of identity, being bullied by us little people, he is not angry, and his mind can accept everything. Voices of worship kept ringing. Above the shimmering ocean. Buzz. The air trembled, and three figures stepped out of the void and stood above the shimmering ocean. Sun Hao looked at the shimmering ocean and released his divine sense. Buzz. The terrifying divine sense enveloped the entire shimmering ocean. The soul fragments of everyone in the shimmering ocean were clearly imprinted into Sun Hao's divine sense. He began to search for Huang Ruming's soul fragments. After a while, Sun Hao retracted his divine sense. On his face, there was an incomparably solemn expression. He looked at Emperor Feng Du and asked, Feng Du, are you sure that all the soul fragments in the world will automatically enter the shimmering ocean? Tao Ancestor, you are right. As long as it is a soul fragment, it will be attracted by the shimmering ocean, reorganized into a soul again, and reincarnated. Look there, that is the gate of reincarnation. The reorganized soul fragments will be sent there. Following the direction of Emperor Feng Du's finger, Sun Hao saw a huge teleportation light gate on the east side of the shimmering ocean. Countless reorganized souls were sent into the light gate and disappeared. In that case, why didn't I find Ruming's soul fragment? Am I late? Sun Hao frowned, his face full of doubts. He stood in place, motionless. It seemed that he was doing something, and it seemed that there was nothing wrong. It's not that I'm late, but there is no soul fragment of Ruming in here. Is there anyone in this world who has the ability to pull out Ruming's soul fragment? Threatening me with Ruming's soul fragment? Sun Hao thought secretly. His fist clenched and made a cracking sound. Anger swirled in his chest, as if it was going to burst his chest. It seemed that it must be done by the dark taboo. His eyes had no ability to deal with the dark taboo. Wait until he obtained his own strength first. By the way, find out Miss Lian's soul fragment first. Sun Hao thought of what he had promised Su Yiling, and he must save her master. Ooh! His divine thoughts were released, covering the entire shimmering ocean again. Every soul fragment was shrouded under Sun Hao's divine thoughts. After a while, Sun Hao retracted his divine thoughts again, his face full of doubts. This time, he found that even Luo Liuyan's soul fragment was not found. How could this be? Could it be that the dark taboo also took away Miss Liuyan's soul fragment? Or Miss Liuyan's soul was smashed into powder by the turbulence of the universe, and not even a fragment was left? Thinking like this, Sun Hao looked at Emperor Feng Du. Feng Du, if a person's soul fragment is chewed up by the turbulence of the universe, will it be absorbed by the shimmering ocean? Sun Hao asked. Young master, of course, it will definitely be absorbed by the shimmering ocean. Emperor Feng Du showed a look of certainty. If this was the case, then there was only one possibility. It was intercepted by the dark taboo halfway. In this world, is there anyone who can intercept the soul fragment? Sun Hao asked. Intercept the soul fragment? Emperor Feng Du frowned slightly, revealing a thoughtful look. To be able to intercept the soul fragment, even a saint can't do it. Emperor Feng Du said, if it is the dark taboo, can he do it? As soon as these words came out, Emperor Feng Du's face changed drastically. Chapter 542. Young master, the horror of the dark taboo is unimaginable. If he wants to intercept the soul fragments, it will be easy and easy. Fengdu Emperor's eyes showed a touch of fear. In this way, the interception of the soul fragments must be his doing. Want to threaten me with them? Very good. Sun Hao secretly clenched his fists and thought bitterly. The dark taboo must die. Dao Ancestor, your inheritance is from there. Fengdu Emperor pointed to the vortex that was like a black hole and said, Good. Sun Hao nodded slightly, took a step, and instantly disappeared. When he appeared again, he had already arrived at the vortex entrance. Without any thought, Sun Hao strode into the vortex and disappeared. Dao Ancestor went in. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva stared blankly at this scene and didn't come back to his senses for a while. Suddenly, buzz, the air trembled. A sound of breaking air sounded. Looking up, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's pupil shrank, and his face changed drastically. Only to see, Fengdu Emperor stretched out his right hand, turned it into a ghost claw, aimed at Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's chest, and grabbed over. This sudden scene shocked Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva so much that he had no time to react. Kacha! The sacred chi shield on his body instantly shattered. Then, this ghost claw broke through his chest and grabbed Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's heart. You are... Watching his heart being pulled out by Fengdu Emperor, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva touched him with his fingers, and his whole body was weak. Finally, like a kite with a broken string, he fell heavily into the Xianming Sea. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva floated on the Xianming Sea. His eyes widened, and he died with a grievance. Dong dong. Holding Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's heart, Fengdu Emperor raised the corner of his mouth with a cold smile. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, you can't blame me for this. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for making my territory a mess over the years. Without your heart, it will be difficult for me to accomplish great things. Speaking of this, Jia. Fengdu Emperor looked up to the sky and screamed like crazy. The ear-piercing, high-frequency whistling shook the entire Xianming Sea. Rise! The Fengdu Emperor waved his right hand, and the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's heart turned into a stream of light and flew toward the center of the vortex. Phew! Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's heart rapidly expanded. In the blink of an eye, it had become a heart that enveloped the Xianming Sea. Many meridians flew out from his heart and passed through the entire Xianming Ocean. Buzz, boom, bang. The calm, mysterious underworld sea let out all sorts of howls. The colorful meridians were like a huge net that connected the entire Nether Sea. With an incomparably terrifying binding force, it enveloped everything. All right, it's done. The corners of Emperor Fengdu's mouth curled up, and he looked smug. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the Xianming Sea and stare at Sun Hao. Dao Ancestor, the moment you open the legacy will be the moment I devour you. When I obtain your inheritance, everything you have will be mine. When I get there, the entire 3 realms will be mine. Ha ha! Savage laughter resounded throughout the world. It reverberated in the sky above the Xianming Ocean and did not calm down for a long time. Sun Hao didn't know anything about this. At this moment, he was standing in a chaotic space. Come quickly, this is the power I left for you. With this power, you will have 1% of my peak strength. In the entire universe, it's hard to find an opponent. However, you can't be complacent. The dark taboo will be resurrected soon. His strength is not weaker than mine at all. Everything in the future depends on you. A voice sounded directly in Sun Hao's mind. This time, he didn't feel uncomfortable. His heartbeat was also very normal. He took a step and walked directly to the source of the sound. Soon after, he stood in place, looked up at the sky, and couldn't help but widen his eyes. He saw that a stone tablet up to 100 meters high appeared in front of Sun Hao. On the stone tablet, there were all kinds of arrays. At a glance, it dazzled people's eyes and cracked their minds. An uncomfortable feeling welled up all over his body. Sun Hao quickly withdrew his gaze and calmed his mind. Only your divine will and your blood can activate this seat's inheritance. Come on, although you are my reincarnation, my memory will not be attached to you, so that you have an independent personality. I'm tired and need to rest. Everything in the future depends on you. Presumably, Xiao should be resurrected. I opened all your memories related to her. In a previous life, she gave everything for me. I'm sorry for her and can't protect her. You need to make up for these regrets. Cherish her, even if I beg you. If you want to protect everything you have, you must obliterate the dark taboo. Otherwise, everything is empty talk. The voice kept coming into Sun Hao's ears. Listening to this, Sun Hao nodded slightly. For Lu Xiao, even if she was another lover in the previous life, so what? Today, she's already my lover. No one can stop it. If anyone dares to touch Lu Xiao, he must let his soul fly away and be doomed eternally. Sun Hao thought secretly, his face showing a touch of unresoluteness. He looked at the stone tablet, his eyes motionless. When all the voices stopped, he retracted his gaze. He cut his finger, and a wound appeared. A drop of blood slowly condensed from the fingertip. Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pressed it on the stone tablet. The blood entered the stone tablet, and the vibration kept ringing. This blood seemed to be swallowed by the stone tablet. A burst of blood-colored lightning covered the entire stone tablet. Those densely packed patterns seemed to have been activated, flashing with a strange light. The entire stone tablet turned from black to bright white. A dull sound sounded. The entire stone tablet slowly rose. An ancient coffin, shining with a dark luster from under the stone tablet, appeared in front of Sun Hao. Looking at this ancient coffin, Sun Hao frowned slightly. A kind of resonance on the mind sounded in Sun Hao's mind. At this moment, Sun Hao felt that as long as he released his divine sense, he could open this ancient coffin. What was contained in the ancient coffin had an unbreakable connection with his soul. Sun Hao could confirm that as long as he obtained the things in the ancient coffin, there would be no problem breaking through to become a saint. In that case, there was nothing to hesitate about. Sun Hao released his divine sense and shrouded the ancient coffin. There was a shock. Above the ancient coffin, a dazzling golden light lit up. It was so bright that Sun Hao couldn't open his eyes. Boom! A dull friction sound sounded. Immediately afterward, the ancient coffin slowly opened. Seeing the scene inside, Sun Hao couldn't help but widen his eyes. When he was about to move, he found that his whole body seemed to be imprisoned and unable to move. Sun Hao's eyes widened, his pupils contracted, and his face changed dramatically. His whole body trembled uncontrollably. Chapter 543. The Human Realm, the territory of the succubus clan, in a great hall on the heavenly charm planet. A woman wearing a golden crown stood on the main seat, holding a black scepter in her hand. She looked like a queen looking down on the world. This woman's facial features were exquisite, and her face was extremely beautiful. Her voluptuous body was curvaceous, making it hard for people to look away. Her pitch-black hair was coiled around her head. Her name was Xuemei. A few decades ago, she returned from Sun Hao's residence and saved the entire goblin race from danger. Naturally, she became the queen supported by the people. She swept her gaze across, and everyone who came into contact with her immediately withdrew their gazes, not daring to look her in the eye. How's the situation at the gates of the abyss these days? Xuemei looked at the female officials and asked, Your Majesty, the gate of the abyss is extremely stable. There have been no abnormalities in the past few days. A female general stood up and said, How's the situation of the human race? Xuemei asked, Your Majesty, a total of 10,800 abyssal gates have been opened in the human territory. Some abyssal gates have been completely opened. Countless abyssal monsters have already swept across the planet. Purple Sunstar, for example, was completely occupied by abyssal monsters. Not a single human survived. Listen to these reports. Xuemei's expression changed slightly. Her gaze seemed to penetrate millions of miles and reach the Purple Sunstar. Young Master, are you all right? The Purple Sunstar has been invaded by abyssal monsters. Are you all right? Worry was written all over Xuemei's face. Then, she shook her head slightly and revealed a self-mocking smile. With young Master's ability, How could anything happen to him? I can't even take care of myself. How would I have the time to care about you? I really hope that the abyssal gate can hold on a little longer. Shui muttered to herself and thought to herself. Report! Suddenly, an urgent voice sounded. Then, the messenger quickly ran into the main hall and knelt in front of Shui. Your Majesty, something bad has happened. The abyssal gate has suddenly ruptured, and countless abyssal monsters are rushing out. Our army has suffered heavy losses. We can't hold on any longer. Hearing this, Shui Mei's body trembled. He immediately stood up. His eyes were filled with anger and murderous intent. Pass down the order. Immediately start the fire beacon mode. Everyone is to be on high alert. Those above the God King realm. Follow me to kill the abyssal monsters. Shui Mei's voice boomed, causing the entire world to tremble. This sound rose. Phew, one by one. The generals with the strength of a god king or above soared into the sky and stood in an orderly fashion in the void. As far as the eye could see, there were tens of thousands of them. Phew! Shui took a step forward and appeared in front of the god king army. Everyone, listen up. Follow me and kill the abyssal monsters. Shui stood on the spot and waved the scepter in her hand. Buzz, layers of ripples appeared in the sky, as tens of thousands of teleportation arrays appeared beside these people. Without any hesitation, this godly monarch army stepped into the ripples and vanished. When he appeared again, he had already arrived above the abyssal gate. Lowering his head, he saw a torrent of monsters gushing out of the abyss. These monsters ran in all directions. Howl, roar, buzz. The roars of various beasts resounded throughout the world. At the border of the two armies, thousands of soldiers fought and retreated at the same time, bitterly holding on. Boom! The sound of explosions kept ringing. Countless monsters exploded into minced meat. The number of abyssal monsters was really endless. In the exploding bloody mist, a few more rushed out again, opened their big mouths full of sharp teeth, aimed at the person who released the spell, and bit down. Slash! There was no way to resist at all. Flesh and blood were torn apart by the body, after being swallowed clean by the abyssal monsters in a few bites. Slash! The abyssal monsters were chopped into pieces by the army. Both sides were drowned in this constant consumption. However, such abyssal monsters were not afraid of consumption at all. As if endless, there was no telling how many there were. Seeing this scene, Shui showed a face of anger. She took out a few talismans and threw them toward the sky and the earth. Phew! The talismans instantly burned, turned into a few rays of light, and slowly fell to the ground. Boom! A violent explosion sounded. Several puppet giants fell directly to the ground. With them, as the center, a series of shock waves roared in all directions. Wherever they went, countless abyssal monsters collapsed into powder and disappeared without a trace. Just falling to the ground, the number of abyssal monsters within 1,000 miles was reduced by more than half. These sounds awakened the goblin army. They looked up at the few puppet giants, and their eyes bloomed with a strange light. That's the puppet giants summoned by Her Majesty the Queen. Her Majesty the Queen is here. What are you waiting for? Her Majesty the Queen is here, kill. The whole momentum was instantly reversed. The army of tens of millions, the more they fought, the braver they became, constantly killing the abyssal monsters. The casualties of the army were getting fewer and fewer. In less than a moment, the monsters that were left outside were all beheaded. Everyone pay attention, pick up the abyss crystal, and recover on the spot. Shui voice was like thunder, clearly spreading to everyone's ears. As soon as these words came out, everyone started to move. They looked at the pieces of abyss crystal of different colors on the ground, and their eyes bloomed with a strange light. Without any hesitation, they quickly picked it up. The abyss crystal was dropped by the abyssal monsters. It was the energy source of the abyssal monsters, and the energy contained in it was no weaker than the divine essence crystal. It was these things that allowed many people to become gods and advance their strength by leaps and bounds. Phew! After sitting cross-legged on the ground, they began to devour the abyss crystal. At the exit of the abyss, 8 puppet giants guarded in 8 directions, blasting out huge fists from time to time. With one punch, all the abyssal monsters that gushed out were smashed into powder. Even if there were fish that escaped the net, outside the puppet giants, there was still the tens of thousands of God King army, brought by Xuanmei. Basically, with just one finger, they could kill a monster. It was simply effortless, without any pressure. Ding! On the ground, the abyss crystal fell to the ground from time to time like raindrops. In less than a moment, there was a thick layer. Xuanmei waved her right hand every quarter of an hour and collected these abyss crystals. Then, she distributed them to everyone to let them cultivate and break through. Your Majesty, this is simply a good place to farm abyss crystals. A God King walked forward, revealing a smile on his face. Hearing this, Xuanmei shook her head slightly. Her face was full of worry. These abyssal monsters are all cannon fodder, used to expand the gate of the abyss. Presumably, what we will face soon is the real army. At that time, it will be the real test. Xuanmei's words were like divine thunder falling from the sky, making everyone's faces change slightly. Everyone's mind was on the verge of collapse, not daring to be careless in the slightest. Soon after, boom, an earth-shattering loud noise sounded. Swish, several 100-meter-tall giants spewed out from the mouth of the abyss. Seeing this scene, Xuanmei's pupils contracted. Not good. General-level monsters are coming out. Chapter 544. Beneath the mysterious underworld ocean. Sun Hao was imprisoned in place, unable to move. Even after exhausting all his strength, he still couldn't move a finger. The only thing he could move now was his mouth. It was as if the other party was doing this on purpose, so that he could speak. To be able to possess such a technique, his strength was definitely not simple. A chill surged from Sun Hao's chest to his whole body. His body trembled uncontrollably. "Who is it?" Sun Hao roared. Phew! A voice sounded, and a figure slowly floated in front of Sun Hao. Looking at this figure, Sun Hao frowned slightly. His eyes widened in disbelief. "Fengdu, it's you?" "Huh." Emperor Fengdu looked up to the sky and laughed, his face full of pride. "That's right, it's me. When did you arrange it? Why don't I know anything about it?" Sun Hao showed a look of disbelief. "Huh." Emperor Fengdu laughed out loud and only calmed down after a long time. "Dao Ancestor, I know everything about you like the back of my hand. For the sake of this day, I've been planning for nearly 1,000,000 years. I was just waiting for you to come. Stop struggling, it's useless. I know that your formation is powerful, so what's restraining you isn't a formation." "It's the Xianming Ocean," said Emperor Fengdu. "What? Xianming Ocean? How can you use the power of the Xianming Ocean?" Sun Hao kept shaking his head, unwilling to believe all this. "You're right, I naturally can't use the power of the Xianming Ocean. However, after 1,000,000 years of comprehension, I can exchange my consciousness with a mysterious underworld sea. I didn't expect it to have a consciousness, and what it is executing is actually equivalent exchange. As long as I give it enough benefits, it will naturally be willing to help me. In the past 900,000 years, I spent countless treasures." Great Emperor Fengdu said word by word, telling Sun Hao everything about himself. "That's impossible. How could the Xianming Sea agree to your treasure?" Sun Hao said. Hearing this, Emperor Fengdu was startled and stared at Sun Hao curiously. The Tao Father lives up to his reputation as a Tao Father. He actually knows so much. "You are right. It is indeed so. The mysterious underworld sea did not agree. It told me that I still need a saint's heart." This sentence was like a thunderbolt in Sun Hao's mind. He looked at Emperor Fengdu with a look of disbelief. "So you hit him?" Sun Hao's voice trembled, and his face was full of anger. "That's right, I killed him." The voice of great Emperor Fengdu was like a ninth heaven divine thunder, blasting Sun Hao's face pale. His eyes widened, as if he wanted to devour Fengdu, great emperor. "You must die," Sun Hao said hatefully. The great emperor of Fengdu laughed loudly. He did not conceal his arrogance at all. He looked at Sun Hao and said, "Tao Ancestor, shouldn't I say this? The one who should die is you." Emperor Fengdu said. Sun Hao lowered his head with a sad look on his face. All hope vanished from his face. All that was left was despair. Why? Sun Hao roared. Why? Ha! Aren't you asking the obvious? After obtaining your power, won't I become the ruler of the three realms? Or heavenly emperor, Tathagata, Tontian, and Hongjun? They have to kneel at my feet obediently. In the heavens and on the earth, I am the only one. Ha! Emperor Fengdu's arrogant appearance could no longer be described in words. He glanced at Sun Hao out of the corner of his eye, full of pride. Sun Hao's whole person had no spirit at all. He lowered his head and didn't move. Emperor Fengdu stepped out and stood in front of the ancient coffin. Who, with a wave of his right hand, 10 drops of golden blood flew out of the ancient coffin. Tao Ancestor, did you see it? This is the blood essence left behind by your previous life. It contains the indescribable power of the sacred essence. When I finish devouring, I will devour you again. It won't take long, 10,000 years will be enough. Emperor Fengdu looked at the 10 drops of golden blood, and the light in his eyes bloomed with a strange light. From time to time, he used the corner of his eyes to sweep Sun Hao to see his reaction. However, no matter what Emperor Fengdu said, Sun Hao did not respond. Who? Emperor Fengdu sat cross-legged on the ground. After setting up thousands of arrays, he took out a drop of golden blood and placed it in front of him. The golden blood was peeled off and a small cut was made. The power of the sacred essence turned into golden threads, whistling out from time to time. It surrounded Emperor Fengdu and drilled into the meridians of Emperor Fengdu like rain. The terrifying power was rampaging in Emperor Fengdu's body. His aura was getting stronger rapidly. Time passed by little. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed. Buzz, there was a vibration, and the surging aura whistled in all directions. Emperor Fengdu opened his eyes, and his face showed uncontrollable surprise. Breakthrough! It has only been an hour, and I have broken through. The inheritance left by the Tao Ancestor is really powerful. If I devour all 10 drops of blood essence, it is not impossible to deal with the darkness restriction in the future, right? Emperor Fengdu sensed the surging power in his body, raised his eyebrows, and was extremely proud. Suddenly, Kacha, the sound of the realm membrane breaking sounded. Hearing this sound, Emperor Fengdu's face changed slightly. No, didn't I just break through? Why did I break through again? With a move of divine thought, he scanned his body. Feeling everything in his meridians, Emperor Fengdu's face changed drastically, and he secretly said that it was not good. This is impossible. He kept shaking his head, unwilling to believe all this. He saw the power of the sacred essence he had just devoured was running wildly in his meridians. Kacha, the meridians were collapsing a little bit. Boom! There were continuous explosions. Emperor Fengdu's meridians were shattered inch by inch. Puff! A mouthful of blood was spat out from Emperor Fengdu's mouth, who, the power of the sacred essence he devoured drilled out of his body and drilled into the drop of golden blood like rain. In the blink of an eye, the drop of golden blood was restored to its original state. Emperor Fengdu, on the other hand, was heavily injured. He fell there, and his face changed. Impossible! I was so careful and used the array to erase the will of the power. How can I still have the will? Could it be that I was wrong? Emperor Fengdu muttered to himself, his face full of bitterness. Compared with the proud look before, the contrast was very strong. How can you devour what belongs to me? Suddenly, there was a sound behind him. This sound, like the thunder of hell, blasted Emperor Fengdu's soul out of his body. Turning around, his pupils shrank, and his face changed drastically. His body seemed to sink into a deep well, and he trembled uncontrollably. How is this possible? He looked at the figure in front of him, his voice trembling. Chapter 545. How can you swallow what belongs to me? The sudden sound made Emperor Fengdu's body tremble in fear. Turning around, Emperor Fengdu's pupils shrank, and his body trembled uncontrollably. He saw. It was Sun Hao who spoke. Unknowingly, He had broken free from the shackles and came to him. How is this possible? Emperor Feng Du showed a look of disbelief. It was completely unimaginable how strong the Xianming Sea was. If it was up to it, it would imprison a person. Not to mention the God Emperor. Even the saint couldn't escape. Unexpectedly, a God Emperor, actually escaped. This was impossible at all. Could it be that the Xianming Sea had rebelled? Impossible. After thinking for a long time, Emperor Feng Du couldn't think of the reason. How could you break free? Emperor Feng Du looked at Sun Hao, showing a questioning look. Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth and waved his right hand. Buzz, the space trembled, and layers of ripples shook out. A figure walked out of the ripples and stood beside Sun Hao. Looking at this figure, Emperor Feng Du's eyes widened, revealing an unbelievable look. He saw, standing next to Sun Hao, was none other than Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. How is this possible? You clearly died in my hands. Emperor Feng Du kept shaking his head, unwilling to believe everything in front of him. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva smiled coldly and did not answer Emperor Feng Du. He stood in front of Sun Hao and saluted with his fists. Thank you for saving my life, Tao Ancestor. If you hadn't calculated everything, I would have died in the hands of this old dog. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva said. You're welcome. Sun Hao smiled and nodded. Calculated everything. How is it possible? Do you control the time law here? Emperor Feng Du looked at Sun Hao and asked. Yes, I can deduce what will happen a few minutes later. Sun Hao nodded. As soon as these words came out, Emperor Feng Du looked gloomy. This was really 1,000 calculations, but he didn't calculate all of this. Then, who is it that I killed? Emperor Feng Du asked. You killed him, but I created an afterimage. Sun Hao said. What? Emperor Feng Du's pupils contracted, and his face changed drastically. He pointed at Sun Hao, and his fingers trembled violently. In that case, the saint's heart that I obtained was also fake? Emperor Feng Du asked. Yes. As soon as these words came out, Pooh! The Emperor of Feng Du spat out a mouthful of blood and revealed a gloomy expression. From the looks of it, all of this was just an act. You deliberately allowed me to devour your blood essence, thereby injuring me. And your strength doesn't have the ability to deal with me. Emperor Feng Du was hanging on to his last breath, supporting his body so that he wouldn't fall. Emperor, Feng Emperor said. Feng, if we fight, my chances of winning are less than 20%. Only by luring you here and putting on a show with you will the inheritance I left behind in my previous life be able to keep you in check. It seems that I have some talent in acting. Sun Hao's words were like the 9 nether divine thunder blasting in the Feng Du great Emperor's soul sea. His Feng, his kept changing. His Feng Du, he spat out mouthfuls of blood. Li's, he Emperor. How Feng Xian he, Feng, he, Feng, Yang, I do Dao, I am, Feng Hao, Emperor, Feng Tian, King, Dao. Emperor Feng Du knelt in front of Sun Hao and kept begging for mercy. Great Emperor Feng Du knelt in front of Sun Hao and kept begging for mercy. If you die without begging for mercy, I will look up to you. If you die without begging for mercy, I will look up to you. Maybe I will spare your life. However, if you can't beat me, you will beg for mercy. How can I spare you? After speaking, Sun Hao waved his right hand. Who? Emperor Feng Du's body flew out uncontrollably and fell into Sun Hao's hands. He struggled frantically, but it was useless. Tao Ancestor, spare, before he finished speaking. Sun Hao stretched out his palm and pressed it down on Emperor Feng Du's chest. Puff! The sound of piercing flesh and blood sounded. Sun Hao grabbed Emperor Feng Du's heart and pulled it out. Thump! The powerful heartbeat kept ringing. Emperor Feng Du's eyes widened. His face was pale, and his body fell down softly. Boom! There was an explosion. The great Emperor of Feng Du's body exploded into dust. At this point, Emperor Feng Du's soul was scattered, and the soul fragments were absorbed by the Xianming Sea. Xianming Sea. Sun Hao's thoughts moved and got in touch with the Xianming Sea. Tao Ancestor, what can I do for you? The Xianming Sea's thoughts came. Help me check one thing. What do you think? Sun Hao asked. Tao Ancestor, this little one will only make an equivalent exchange. If you can give me a saint's heart, it will not be a problem to check 10 things. The Xianming Si said. Okay. Sun Hao nodded and handed over Emperor Feng Du's heart. Who? Soon, a hand of nothingness grabbed Emperor Feng Du's heart and disappeared. Tao Ancestor, please ask. The Xianming Si said. I have a friend named Huang Romeng. Can you help me find out where her soul fragment is? After speaking, Sun Hao's thoughts moved and sank into the soul space. He was about to pull out Huang Rumeng's body, but he was stunned in place. He found that in the soul space, Huang Rumeng's crystal coffin had disappeared. It was not only Huang Romeng who disappeared. Even Sun Wuquang and Lu Xiao also disappeared. Standing in the space, only Song Yu and tens of thousands of dark knights were left. At this moment, they were looking around suspiciously. Seeing Sun Hao's mind-body, they hurriedly came forward and saluted with their fists. Greetings, young master. Have you seen Xiao, and Sun Wuquang? Sun Hao asked. Young master, madam is not with you? Song Yu's eyes widened, showing a look of disbelief. No. Sun Hao shook his head slightly, looked at Song Yu, and asked what happened. Young master, we were dizzy just now, and we all fell asleep. We just woke up now, and we don't know what happened. Hearing this, Sun Hao secretly said that it was not good. Being able to take away Lu Xiao and Huang Romeng under his nose, their strength must not be underestimated. In this world, can others enter my soul space? Sun Hao muttered to himself, thinking secretly. At this moment, he was exceptionally calm, using his closest people to threaten him. Who else could it be except the Dark Taboo? Don't worry about it first. Improving my strength is the most important thing at present. Sun Hao thought secretly and took back his emotions. He looked at Song Yu and the others and said, You guys cultivate well, don't slack off. I have a feeling that a war is about to start. Do you understand what I mean? Sun Hao said, Young master, we understand. Song Yu nodded slightly, showing a firm look. Young master, you can rest assured that we will not let you down. Good. Sun Hao nodded, and his mind moved, returning to his body. Chapter 546. Tao Ancestor, please continue. The voice of the Xianming Si came in his Sun Hao's ears. I want to ask you, have you seen this woman's soul fragment? After speaking, Sun Hao waved his right hand, and Huang Rumeng's appearance condensed. No, there was no hesitation in the voice of the mysterious underworld ocean. What about this woman's soul fragment? After speaking, Sun Hao waved his right hand again, and Luo Liuyan's appearance condensed. I don't either, said the mysterious underworld sea. All right, I'll ask you these 2 questions first. If you've seen their soul fragments, you must keep me. Sun Hao said, Don't worry, Tao Ancestor. I will definitely do as you say, said the Xianming Ocean. Withdrawing his mood, Sun Hao looked at Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Did you find anything when you were in the soul space just now? Tao Father. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva revealed an embarrassed smile. I was too tired in your soul space just now, so I fell asleep. I woke up again and saw you. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva said. All right, I understand. Go to my soul space to cultivate. Sun Hao said. What? Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's eyes widened in disbelief. Tao Ancestor, you allow me to cultivate in your soul space? What? Are you unwilling? Sun Hao asked. Tao Ancestor, of course I'm willing. Thank you. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva was touched. All right, enough nonsense. Hurry up and go in. With a wave of his right hand, Sun Hao sent Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva into his soul space. After a few long breaths, Sun Hao calmed down. His important people were bound by the enemy and turned into bargaining chips. Right now, the only thing he could do was to increase his strength. He wanted to rescue them before the great battle began. Sun Hao thought secretly and made a decision. Sitting cross-legged on the ground and looking at the 10 drops of blood essence in the ancient coffin, Sun Hao's eyes bloomed with a strange light. Phew! With a wave of his right hand, a drop of blood essence flew out and sat calmly in front of Sun Hao. The terrifying power surged in the blood essence, as if it could destroy the heaven and earth, and Sun Hao was shocked to see it. That bone-deep sense of familiarity surged throughout his entire body. Buzz, there was a tremor. A small hole appeared on the blood essence. Wisps of golden light flew out of the small hole. Phew! It poured down like golden rain, wrapping Sun Hao's whole body. These golden threads directly penetrated Sun Hao's skin and drilled into his meridians. It turned into surging energy that surged within his body. Kacha! The sound of joints cracking could be heard. Sun Hao's entire body seemed to be undergoing thousands of tempering and growing rapidly. He could clearly sense that every cell in his body was as excited as if they had been injected with chicken blood. There was an indescribable sense of comfort in his entire body. Sun Hao's physical body was getting stronger rapidly. Phew! The ocean-like energy continued to surge in his meridians. It quickly poured into Sun Hao's mind, nourishing his soul. Sun Hao's soul was also growing rapidly. His divine will, his wisdom, his breadth of mind, everything was growing. Kacha! The sound of the barrier of the realm breaking rang out. Sun Hao's physical body underwent earth-shaking changes. If his previous body was as tough as a low-quality Saint artifact, then his current body was as tough as a medium-quality Saint artifact. The growth was not insignificant. Sensing the rapid increase in power in his body, Sun Hao roared. Roar! The entire chaotic space shattered inch by inch, terrifying and boundless. Sun Hao could confirm that if he punched out, he could completely smash the purple sun star into powder. However, it didn't stop. The power of his drop of blood essence seemed to have just begun. Phew! The crazy power rushed in, whistling wildly in Sun Hao's body. His strength continued to grow. Time passed little by little. At this moment, Sun Hao forgot the time and was completely immersed in the breakthrough. Shadow Realm. Sun Hao's physical body sat cross-legged. The six-eared macaque stood in front of Sun Hao, pacing back and forth, showing an anxious expression. Monkey, don't turn around. My head is dizzy because of you. Thunder Tribulation Lord said. Dead fatty, don't talk nonsense. It's been 50 years, and the young master hasn't returned yet. Can I be at ease? The six-eared macaque said. There's no way. The young master may have encountered something, and we have no way. Thunder Tribulation Lord said. I know there's no way, but the abyss has been open for 30 years, and I have been guarding here. It's hard to lose weight. The six-eared macaque said. Your skin is itchy. You want to go looking for abuse? Thunder Tribulation Lord said. Looking for abuse? What do you know? They keep killing the abyss monsters, and the abyss crystals that burst out are not weaker than the energy cores of the crystal of God Essence. If I, old son, go and kill some, I think it will be no problem to break through to the God Emperor realm. The six-eared macaque said. Okay, it's not bad to have the hierarch realm now. There must be someone guarding the young master. Thunder Tribulation Lord said. I know this, but aren't you tempted at all? The six-eared macaque asked. Of course. It's just that the young master's safety is the most important. Thunder Tribulation Lord said. Fatty, let me discuss something with you. The six-eared macaque said. What's the matter? Tell me. Thunder Tribulation Lord asked. You see, this shadow realm is very safe. I think it's good for you to guard alone. I'll go to Xiang Star to kill the abyss monsters, and the abyss crystals that burst out will be half for us. What do you think? The six-eared macaque's words were full of temptation. After Thunder Tribulation Lord heard it, his face changed. Your proposal is good, but why are you going to kill them instead of me? Thunder Tribulation Lord asked. That's easy. First, I'm strong. Second, I can't calm down. That's settled. I'll be right back. The six-eared macaque took a step and was about to escape. Wait. Thunder Tribulation Lord hurriedly stopped him. What do you want? The six-eared macaque showed an impatient look. Someone sent me a message. Thunder Tribulation Lord took out the communication jade slip and opened it. His pupils shrank, and his face changed dramatically. He saw that it said, Lord, our clan is in danger. Please return as soon as possible. A simple line of words revealed a huge amount of information. The six-eared macaque came forward, and after seeing this line of words, his pupils shrank. He sighed secretly and sat down directly. "Damn fatty, hurry up and go, what are you doing?" The six-eared macaque roared. "You must protect the young master, and must not leave half a step. Do you understand?" The Thunder Tribulation Lord said. "Do I need you to talk nonsense? Which is more important? I, old son, can still distinguish clearly," the six-eared macaque said. "Monkey, thank you very much." Thunder Tribulation Lord took a big step and instantly disappeared. Chapter 547. In the center of the Xianming Sea, in a chaotic space, Sun House sat cross-legged in place, surrounded by 10 drops of golden blood essence. The golden silk was like rain, whistling down, drilling into Sun Hao's skin, quickly strengthening his strength. "Gotcha!" The sound of the realm membrane cracking sounded. Sun Hao's physical body broke through again. This time, his physical body directly grew to the strength of a top-grade sacred tool. With one hand, it would not be a problem to smash a star. The strength of the soul was many times stronger than before. The deduction he used before could only last a few minutes. If it was used now, even if it was 10 days or half a month, it would not be a problem. However, these were just Sun Hao's temporary thoughts. He had no time to test it. Now he must go all out to devour these inheritances, and he could not afford to waste any. Time passed by. The blood essence around Sun Hao's body was also rapidly fading. Boom! All of the blood essence shattered and vanished without a trace. At the same time, "Gotcha!" Another sound of the barrier of the realm shattering rang out. At this moment, Sun Hao broke through, from the God Emperor realm to the Saint realm. The Saint was the peak existence of this world. Sun Hao opened his eyes, and 2 rays of light burst out. Sensing the surging power in his body, Sun Hao clenched his fists excitedly. His current strength was more than 100 times stronger than before. Now, facing Feng Du Great Emperor, he didn't need to use any strategy at all. He just needed to blow lightly to blow Feng Du Great Emperor into powder. He had become so strong, but he still only had 1% of his peak strength in his previous life. How strong was his strength at that time? Would he slap it with one hand, and the entire universe would collapse? That was a completely unimaginable existence. Withdrawing his excitement, Sun Hao calmed down. He looked ahead and took a step. Buzz, with a shake, he disappeared in place instantly. When he appeared again, he stood over the Xianming Sea. "Dao Ancestor, are you leaving?" The voice of the Xianming Sea came into Sun Hao's ears. "Yes." Sun Hao nodded. "Young master, the Dark Age has restarted, and countless abyss teleportation portals have appeared in the human world. Low-level abyssal monsters have already wreaked havoc in the human world. You must not be delayed by these things. You must remember to go to the Chaos Star region as soon as possible. There lies the truth you seek." The sound of the Xianming Sea rang in Sun Hao's ears like thunder. Hearing this, Sun Hao looked startled. He didn't expect that it would actually advise him. If he hadn't heard it with his own ears, he wouldn't have believed it. He glanced at the nether Xianming Sea. Seeing that it was not reacting, he took a step forward and instantly disappeared from hell. He stood in the void and released his divine will. Buzz, a terrifying divine, will envelop every planet. Everything entered Sun Hao's soul sea. At this moment, Sun Hao was surprised to find that his divine sense was strong enough to scan the entire land. Even in the black hole, his spiritual force was unobstructed. All the details were under his observation. "I don't see Hui Jin. It seems that he won't revive in the land domain." Withdrawing his divine sense, Sun Hao was shocked. He took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of a lifeless planet. This planet was 10 times the size of the purple sun star. The density of matter on it was 100 times denser. "I don't know how strong I am. I'll use you to test it out." After speaking, Sun Hao aimed at the planet and blew lightly. Whoosh! The wind of nothingness instantly blew on the planet. "Gotcha!" The dull, loud noise continued one after another. Sun Hao was surprised to find that the planet had disintegrated. Everything on it was blown into nothingness vanishing completely. It's several times stronger than I thought. It seems that I could go to the Chaos Star territory. However, before that, I have to go see them and help them improve their strength. Abyss monsters? Let me come and meet you. After speaking, Sun Hao's mind moved, and his whole body instantly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in the Shadow Realm. At this moment, the six-eared macaque was pacing back and forth around his body with an anxious look on his face. When he saw Sun Hao, he couldn't help but be stunned in place. Then, he looked back at Sun Hao's other body and looked at Sun Hao again. Young master? The six-eared macaque showed a look of disbelief. Six-eared, don't you recognize me when you see me? Sun Hao pretended to be angry. Young master, are you really back? It's been 50 years, and I finally see you. The six-eared macaque was fast like lightning, forming a gust of wind, and directly rushed into Sun Hao's arms. He hugged Sun Hao tightly and burst into tears. Okay, six-eared, this is not like you. Sun Hao let go of the six-eared macaque. Young master, I thought you... At this point, the six-eared macaque couldn't go on. By the way, where are Little Lei and the others? Sun Hao asked. Young master, Little Lei just left. Something big happened in his clan. It must be the Abyss monsters, so I'll let him go back first. As for the others, they should be fighting with the Abyss monsters now, the six-eared macaque said. Abyss monsters? Sun Hao frowned, and his face showed a touch of killing intent. Okay, then let's go back to the human realm first, Sun Hao said. Young master, your body? The six-eared macaque pointed to Sun Hao's body. There was a problem. Too weak, useless. Sun Hao waved his right hand, and the previous body instantly collapsed into powder and disappeared without a trace. He took the six-eared macaque, stepped forward, and instantly disappeared from the Shadow Realm. When he appeared again, he had already arrived in the void somewhere in the human realm. Releasing his divine sense, Sun Hao enveloped many planets. The human realm was too big, and Sun Hao's divine sense could not cover all the planets. This time, the release could only cover 1/10 of the human realm star field. Kill! Abyss monsters, I will fight with you. Boom! With a loud explosion, a cultivator self-destructed and died on the spot. Countless Abyss monsters were blown into powder. However, at the exit of the Abyss, endless Abyss monsters rushed out and rushed over the entire planet. Countless human cultivators were swallowed by these Abyss monsters and turned into their food. Such scenes emerged from many planets of life and were clearly transmitted into Sun Hao's mind. At this moment, Sun Hao felt the insignificance of his own strength. Although he was strong, he could not save every planet at the same time. Come out. Sun Hao waved his right hand, and tens of thousands of dark knights rushed out, all standing in front of Sun Hao. Looking at this army of girls, the six-eared macaque stood dumbfounded in place, revealing a look of disbelief. Each of these girls' strength was far above his own. They were infinitely close to the Saint Realm, and he was only a divine lord. This was completely a noob facing the great god. There was nothing else but looking up. Chapter 548. Succubus Star Field, Heavenly Charm Planet. Xuemei looked at the four monsters surrounding her, frowned, and showed a dignified face. It had been a month since the Gate of the Abyss was destroyed and the battle had begun. From the previous easy crushing of the abyssal monsters to now, they were restrained everywhere, and countless troops were buried in the mouths of the abyssal monsters. All of this could not be described in words. Now, there was no one who could fight side by side with her. Boom! In the distance, there was a loud explosion from time to time. Presumably, some of her men blew themselves up again. I'm sorry, this king is incompetent and can't lead you to victory. 2 lines of tears slipped down from the corners of Xuemei's eyes. The clothes on her body had been torn to pieces. New and old scars were all over her body, and she looked like a mess. Around her, 4 incomparably terrifying monsters surrounded her. Each of them had the aura of the God Emperor realm and was dozens of meters high. The huge fangs exuded a cold light, which made people feel cold at first glance. The saliva fell to the ground, burning a hole. These monsters were all overlord level. A roar could make all the abyssal monsters in all directions rush to kill them. In the past 3 days, these 4 Overlord-level monsters relied on the human wave tactic to drag Shui Mei half to death. Now, all means have been used up, and these 4 Overlord-level monsters had extremely high intelligence and did not give Shui Mei time to recover at all. Roar! One of the Lord-tier monsters roared angrily. Immediately, dang dang, the sound of galloping kept ringing. Countless abyssal monsters, like a torrent, rushed straight to Shui Mei. Each of them was a few meters tall, roaring again and again, opened their bloody mouths, and bit at Shui Mei. You want to kill this king with this? Shui Mei revealed a sneer. Closing her eyes, she waited quietly, seeing that the sharp teeth were about to grab her body and tear her into powder. At this time, Shui Mei suddenly opened her eyes, and 2 rays of light burst out. Buzz! The scepter in her hand lit up with a dazzling light. Then it exploded. A shock wave, centered on Shui Mei, spread to the surroundings. The shock wave obliterated all the abyssal monsters that were charging at them into powder with the force of crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Boom! Explosions kept ringing out. The color of the entire heavens and earth changed, turning gloomy. Boom! The 4 Lord-class abyssal monsters were also hit by the shockwave. Their bodies flew backwards and crashed heavily into the ground. These shockwaves contained the power to tear apart everything, and they tore open wounds on the bodies of these abyssal monsters. Howl! A series of blood-curdling screams rang out from the Overlord monster's mouth. Numerous wounds appeared on their bodies. Green blood flowed from the wound to the ground, burning a charred hole in the ground. Pooh! After releasing this move, Shui Mei spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face was deathly pale, and she was half lying on the ground, without the slightest strength to struggle. Roar! The 4 lords roared in excitement. They struggled and strode forward with their mountain-like feet. Boom! They stepped forward and quickly pounced towards the snow imps. The terrifying aura froze the surrounding air in place. Shui Mei struggled a few times, but was unable to stand up. She smiled bitterly. Like an icicle flower that was about to shatter, it was so beautiful that it made one's heart ache. Am I going to die here? Well, it's not a waste of my life to pull 4 God Emperors down with me. Young master, I'm sorry. Your great kindness, Shui Mei can't repay you in this life. I hope there is an afterlife. Let Shui Mei follow you and serve you for a lifetime. At the corner of Shui Mei's eyes, tears flowed down. She looked at the void, and her eyes seemed to penetrate hundreds of millions of miles away. Young master, are you okay? Shui Mei let you down. I can't even handle these little monsters. Young master, see you in the next life. Shui Mei wiped the last of her tears and looked at the monsters rushing over. On her face, there was a fierce look. Come on, let's die together. At the corner of her mouth, there was a cruel smile. Seeing the smile at the corner of her mouth, the 4 Overlord monsters were stunned and quickly stopped. Not good, they found me. Shui Mei's face changed slightly, and she quickly detonated the energy in her body and self-destructed on the spot. However, the next second, she was horrified to find that she had lost contact with her body, unable to detonate. Sensing this scene, Shui Mei showed a bitter look, and her expression was gloomy. Howl! Seeing the change in Shui Mei's expression, these Overlord monsters roared excitedly. What kind of trump card did they have? It turned out to be just an act. Boom! They stepped forward and quickly rushed towards Shui Mei. Shui Mei opened her mouth, but she didn't spit out a word. These abyssal monsters were too smart. Otherwise, she would not have ended up like this. Goodbye, young master. Shui Mei closed her eyes and quietly waited for death. However, after waiting for a moment, there was no pain of being torn by the monster's claws. There was no roar of the abyssal monsters around. Everything seemed exceptionally calm. Has my soul reached the earth realm? Why do I still feel pain? Opening her eyes, Shui Mei looked startled. She saw, above the sky, a figure in white slowly descended. That indescribable temperament made Shui Mei's heart beat violently. The person who came was none other than Sun Hao. I didn't expect to see young master in the Earth realm. Is this a dream? Xuanmei muttered to herself, her eyes fixed on Sun Hao. Oh, a tin-colored light flew up from Sun Hao's fingertips and surged all over Xuanmei's body. The injuries on Xuanmei's body healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Her skin became white and flawless again. Her empty spirit recovered quickly at this moment. Soon, she reached her peak state again. Who? Sun Hao looked at Xuanmei and waved his right hand again. Nether god crystals circled around Xuanmei, sprinkling strands of green brilliance, wrapping Xuanmei up. These green threads drilled into Xuanmei's body. An itchy and numb feeling surged all over her body. At this moment, Xuanmei cried out in comfort. I didn't expect that death would be so comfortable. Xuanmei muttered to herself, feeling that her physical body was getting stronger rapidly. Terrifying power surged all over her body. At this moment, she felt that she could kill a God Emperor-level abyss monster with a punch. Isn't all this a dream? Xuanmei muttered to herself, staring at Sun Hao. Gratitude, doubt, puzzlement, disbelief, all kinds of emotions flashed in her eyes. Young master, am I dreaming? Xuanmei murmured. Sun Hao stretched out his hand and pulled Xuanmei up. Of course it's not a dream. Sun Hao looked at Xuanmei with an extremely complicated expression. When he saw Xuanmei, he would think of Lu Xiao and Huang Romem. These three people were like one person. Not a dream? Xuanmei muttered to herself, looking at everything around her, and couldn't help but show a look of shock. Chapter 549. Isn't this a dream? Xuanmei pinched herself fiercely and grimaced in pain. She looked at Sun Hao blankly moved. Young master, you came to save me personally. What ability does Xuanmei have to make you spend so much effort? How can Xuanmei repay your great kindness? Xuanmei muttered to herself, moved tears sliding down her face. She took a step and ran quickly towards Sun Hao, throwing herself into Sun Hao's arms and hugging him tightly. Young master, thank you. Xuanmei's tears dripped down, drenching Sun Hao's clothes. Two extremely round balls squeezed on Sun Hao's chest, and a strange feeling kept coming. Oh. The fragrance of Xuanmei kept stimulating Sun Hao's nasal cavity. For a while, Sun Hao was helpless. Somewhere, like a dragon coming out of the sea, standing proudly, went straight to Xuanmei. Sensing the strange feeling in Sun Hao, Xuanmei's face was like a peach, shy and beautiful. Coupled with her plump body, it added a bit of charm. Young master, if you want Xuanmei, just do it. Xuanmei raised her head, closed her eyes, and her delicate red lips strongly stimulated Sun Hao's nerves. A dry and hot feeling surged through his whole body. I can't do this. I can't let shower down. Sun Hao kept shaking his head, trying to stay awake. However, his body trembled uncontrollably as if it was electrocuted. The divine dragon was caught by Xuanmei. The divine dragon was caught, like the gate of life being controlled. At this moment, how could Sun Hao stand it? Young master, you should release when you should, otherwise you will be suffocated. Xuanmei is willing to be your maid and serve you for a lifetime. Don't worry, I won't steal your position from my sister. Come on, young master. The voice was extremely tempting, pulling Sun Hao's soul into the abyss. At this moment, he could no longer control himself and let Xuanmei manipulate him. The next scene could not be described in words. Here, 100,000 words should be omitted. After dozens of rounds of battle, Xuanmei threw herself into Sun Hao's arms and hugged him tightly. Young master, I didn't expect you to be so strong. With you, Xuanmei really can't stand it. I really can't imagine how Sister Rumman came here. At this point, Xuanmei's face turned red, and her voice was so low that even she couldn't hear it. Rumman hasn't dual cultivated with me yet. Sun Hao answered truthfully. What? Young master, how did you survive all these years? Xuanmei was startled, looked at Sun Hao, and asked. Hold it in. Sun Hao answered truthfully. Young master, don't hold it in the future. It's not good for your health. Whenever you want, Xuanmei will accompany you anytime. My strength has improved after dual cultivating with you. I believe that I will be able to break through to the Saint Realm soon. Shui Mei revealed an excited expression. Sage? Sun Hao shook his head slightly. There is no limit to the path of cultivation. In my opinion, the Saint Realm is the starting point. Sun Hao said, What? Saints are just the starting point? Aren't sages the top existences in this world? Shui Mei was shocked. In the three realms, sages are indeed the pinnacle existences of the world. However, there is an incomparably vast universe beyond the three realms. To us, the Dark Age is just a small disaster. When a true catastrophe descends, who can stop it? Sun Hao thought of the two cosmic giants with a worried face. Catastrophe? Shui Mei's face changed. She opened her mouth, unable to ask. She was not even a sage now, and she was not qualified to know. Young master, where have you been all these years? Can Shui Mei know? Shui Mei asked. Of course. Sun Hao nodded and told her everything he had encountered over the years. Listening to Sun Hao's voice, Shui Mei nodded again and again. When she heard Lu Xiao, she couldn't help but look stunned. Young master, is Sister Lu Xiao really your lover? Shui Mei asked. Yes. Sun Hao nodded. She was my lover in my previous life, and she is the same in this life. In this life, I must protect her, but she is missing. Sun Hao told her about the disappearance of Lu Xiao and others in his soul space. Hearing this, Shui Mei showed a face full of worry. Young master, don't worry. Sister Lu Xiao is blessed by heaven. Nothing will happen. Shui Mei said, And you are right. They must be fine, at least for the time being. Sun Hao's face became more and more firm. Mei you look the same as Xiao and Ru Ming. There must be a connection. Don't worry. I will investigate this matter clearly. Sun Hao said, Thank you, young master. You don't have to worry. You must pay attention to safety first. Shui Mei said, You can rest assured about this. Sun Hao seemed to think of something. Mei do you know your life experience? My life experience? Only Mother knows. Shui Mei said, Let's go. Now go to your mother and ask clearly. Sun Hao said, Young master, my mother has self-destructed to deal with the abyss monsters. Speaking of this, Shui Mei sobbed in a low voice. There are many warriors. They all self-destructed. It's all my fault. I didn't protect them well. Shui Mei's face was full of self-blame. Tears hung in the corners of her eyes like crystal flowers, making people feel distressed. Sun Hao gently wiped the tears from the corners of Shui Mei's eyes, held her in his arms, and patted her back to comfort her. Young master, Heavenly Charm Star has been lost, and it has become the nest of the abyss monsters. These abyss monsters are endless, and they can't be killed at all. Shui Mei said, No. Sun Hao shook his head slightly. If I didn't guess wrong, it's not that they can't be killed, but they could be resurrected immediately after death. If you want to kill them all, you must go to the abyss. However, now is not a good time to go to the abyss. Sun Hao said, Young master, what do you mean? Shui Mei looked at Sun Hao, showing an inquiring look. I need to go to the heavenly realm, and when I return, it will be time to go to the abyss. Sun Hao's face was solemn. Young master, I will accompany you. Wherever you go, I will go. Shui Mei showed a firm look. No. Sun Hao smiled and shook his head, pointing to the abyss gate. The great formation I laid can only resist for a while. After 10 years, this abyss gate will continue to open. The abyss monsters that come out at that time are by no means comparable to them now. Heavenly Charm Star is not finished yet. You still need to lead. Sun Hao said, Young master, you don't have to comfort me. They all died with my own eyes. It's all my fault for being useless. Shui Mei looked sad. Sun Hao didn't speak, just smiled mysteriously. Sun Hao waved his right hand. Hundreds of millions of rays of colorful light rushed out of his hand, sprinkling all over Heavenly Charm Star. On the entire Heavenly Charm Star, scenes appeared in front of Shui Mei. Seeing this unimaginable scene, Shui Mei was stunned on the spot and revealed a look of disbelief. Chapter 550. Hundreds of millions of strands of colorful light rushed out of Sun Hao's hands and sprinkled all over Heavenly Charm Star. Ding, kill. You, and I come, beastmen die. A series of images appeared in front of Shui Mei, just like a movie. However, these movies were all going backwards. Seeing this, Shui Mei's eyes widened in disbelief. This is time reversal. My God, just what level has the young master's strength reached? To be able to turn back time by an entire planet, this is too terrifying. Shui Mei looked at Sun Hao in a daze, and the light of worship kept sweeping on Sun Hao. Thinking of the moment of dual cultivation with Sun Hao, she couldn't help blushing, and happiness was written all over her face. I didn't expect that I would be able to dual cultivate with someone like you. This is like a dream, Shui Mei muttered to herself, and continued to stare at Sun Hao. The more she watched, the more shocked Shui Mei became. They saw. Phew. Sun Hao's mind moved, and threads of nothingness pulled out the people who were fighting. Resurrection. Oh my God. Shui Mei's eyes widened in disbelief. His excitement was indescribable. Buzz. Not long after, there was a tremor. Everything returned to normal. The tens of millions of Xiozhas stood where they were, their expressions changing. I'm not dead. I'm alive again. Is this a dream? Unbelievable. I clearly saw myself exploding into dust. How'd I come back to life? Cries of surprise could be heard continuously. The entire scene was in chaos. They stared blankly at their surroundings and finally fixed their gazes on Shui Mei. Greetings, Your Majesty. Other than Shui Mei's mother, everyone else knelt down and cowed out. Rise. Shui Mei stood in front of everyone. She had the temperament of a queen. Thank you, Your Majesty. Everyone stood up. They looked at Shui Mei excitedly, their faces full of questions. Shui Mei's mother walked forward, her body trembling with excitement. Little Mei, what's going on? Snow Demon's mother asked. Shui Mei smiled slightly, turned around, and stared directly at Sun Hao. His temperament changed instantly, from a queen to a little girl. She quickly walked to Sun Hao and gently pulled his hand. Everyone's survival is all thanks to young master. That's right. He's the young master I told you about. Shui Mei's leisurely voice reached everyone's ears clearly. The voice wasn't loud, but it was like a clap of thunder in their minds. What? That's the young master that Her Majesty mentioned. I can't believe I can actually meet such a person. Am I dreaming? He's the young master who saved my clan? Oh my God. This time, young master has saved us again. How can we repay such a great favor? Cries of surprise could be heard continuously. Admiration, reverence, and gratitude were written all over their faces. At this moment, Sun Hao was like a god in everyone's heart, infinitely elevated. Shui Mei's mother walked forward, her body trembling with excitement. Without any hesitation, facing Sun Hao, he knelt down. As soon as she took the lead, the tens of millions of succubus race members all knelt down. Greetings, young master. Their united voices shook the heavens and earth. You don't have to be so polite. Please rise. Thank you, young master. Everyone stood up. Young master, you have saved my clan again and again. There's no way to repay such great kindness. Shui Mei's mother looked at Sun Hao gratefully. You're welcome. Sun Hao nodded slightly, looked at Shui Mei's mother, and asked, I heard that mayor was picked up by you. Yes, young master. Shui Mei's mother's gaze seemed to return to many years ago. 1,000 years ago, I was performing a mission outside and suddenly heard Little Mei's cry. Looking at Little Mei's cute appearance, I could hear her crying in the wind and snow, so I named her Shui Mei. Unexpectedly, Little Mei is the lucky star of our clan because she can know young master and save our clan many times. Shui Mei's mother said one sentence at a time. Sun Hao listened to these and frowned slightly. Then do you know who abandoned Shui Mei there? Which planet did you pick her up on? Sun Hao asked. Young master, I didn't see anyone throw her there at the time. The place where I picked her up is on Tian Mei's star. It's 100,000 miles away from here, on a mountain called Tian Mei Peak, following the direction of Shui Mei's mother's finger. Buzz, the world shook. Sun Hao, Shui Mei, and her mother seemed to teleport. In an instant, they appeared in the sky 100,000 miles away. Such a terrifying method made Shui Mei and her mother stunned for a while. Do you think it's down here? Sun Hao pointed to a mountain peak and said. Shui Mei's mother nodded slightly and flew down with Sun Hao. Standing on mountaintop, Shui Mei pointed to a stone. Yes, it's here. Here? Sun Hao looked at the stone and released his divine sense. After half a moment, Sun Hao retracted his divine sense. There was no causal relationship. There were no clues left. Who was it, and why did they do this? Who gave birth to Shui Mei? What was the purpose of deliberately abandoning her here? A series of questions sounded in Sun Hao's mind. For a while, he couldn't figure it out at all. Young master, did you find anything? Shui Mei asked. No. Sun Hao shook his head slightly. Young master, it's okay. You don't have to worry too much. Shui Mei comforted Sun Hao softly. Mei-er, don't worry. I will definitely find out about your background. Next, let's solve the matter of the Dark Era first. Let's go back. Sun Hao stretched out his hand and pointed forward. The three figures flashed and returned to their original place again. Sun Hao stood in the sky, looking at the tens of millions of Goblin clan people below. The Dark Era has begun. No matter which race, they can't be spared. We need to gather the power of all races to fight against the abyssal monsters together. You're the main force of the Goblin clan. I have a big gift to give you. Sit down cross-legged. Sun Hao's voice was like thunder, clearly reaching everyone's ears. Hearing this, everyone's eyes widened, showing incomparable excitement. The big gift that the young master said was not an ordinary thing. It seems that the young master wants to help us improve our strength. Such a big gift was indescribable in words. Everyone revealed an excited expression and immediately sat down cross-legged. Mei-er, you also sit down cross-legged. Sun Hao said. Shui Mei was shocked and excited. When everyone sat down cross-legged, Sun Hao took out the ancient zither and began to pull it. Hundreds of millions of strands of colorful light pulled out from Sun Hao's fingertips, sprinkled all over the world, and enveloped all the Goblin clan people. Gotcha! The sound of breakthrough sounded like setting off firecrackers. For a while, it couldn't be stopped at all. Under the shroud of the 10-colored saint essence, everyone's strength was breaking through rapidly. Chapter 551. The Human World. In a certain star field, a sea of thunder surged up. The terrifying power made people scalp numb. In the Thunder Tribulation Sea, there was a hall, which was the territory of the Thunder Tribulation Lord. On this day, in the hall, 2 rows of men in purple thunder armor and holding thunder giant swords stood on both sides. Each of them was 100 meters tall, like a giant. The kind of murderous aura surged up from them and enveloped the entire hall. On the main seat, a giant in a purple robe sat. He gently touched his purple beard, and the electric light kept flashing. In front of him, a group of Thunder Tribulation giants knelt in front of him, shivering. Even the daughter of the Thunder Tribulation Lord, Lei Lu, was kneeling there at the moment. Lei Aoyan's ability is not small. I have waited for a long time, but I still haven't seen him return. Do you really think I am a vegetarian? The purple-robed giant opened his mouth, and his voice was like thunder, causing the faces of the Thunder Tribulation giants to change dramatically. Master, I will be there soon. Please wait a moment, Lei Lu said. A palm formed by purple light, as fast as lightning, directly hit Lei Lu's face. Lei Lu's body, like a broken kite, hit a pillar heavily, and her face was swollen. Did I allow you to speak? The purple-robed giant glanced at his palm lightly, his voice contemptuous. Little Lu. When Lei Lang saw her, his face changed dramatically. He took a step, ran quickly to Lei Lu, and stretched out his hand, ready to help her. However, Buzz, a huge purple thunder palm, quickly blasted toward Lei Lang. Boom! This slap directly exploded on Lei Lang's face. Half of his chin directly fell to the ground, and blood flowed like a column. Without my order, you dare move? Do you really think I am a vegetarian? Die! The purple-robed giant waved his right hand, and a purple thunder palm was formed again. He aimed at Lei Lang and blasted it. The terrifying power made Lei Lang's scalp numb, and his heart could not produce any resistance. He turned around to look at Lei Lu, and a sad smile appeared on his face. Little Lu, See you in the next life. I am too weak to protect you, Lei Lang muttered to himself. He closed his eyes and quietly waited for his death. The purple-robed giant was about to slap Lei Lang's body. At this moment, the air trembled. The lightning palm instantly shattered and exploded into nothingness, disappearing without a trace. Seeing this, the purple-robed giant's expression changed slightly. He stood up and looked around coldly. Who is it? Come out. The air trembled. A figure emerged from the ripples and stood in the middle of the hall. The person who came was the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign. The moment he saw the Thunder Tribulation ruler, the face of the purple-robed giant changed slightly, and anger rose from his chest. Lei Yin, you're really something. You actually dare to stop me from attacking? Also, you didn't kneel when you saw me. What is your punishment? However, the Thunder Tribulation Lord did not even look at the purple-robed giant. At this moment, his gaze was fixed on Lei Lang and Lei Lu. Phew! With a wave of his right hand, 2 pills flew into their mouths. Their injuries healed at a visible speed. Very soon, the 2 of them woke up. When they saw the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign, their eyes lit up. Dad, you're back. Sovereign, you're back? The 2 of them were excited. When they saw the purple-robed giant with a distorted face, their faces changed dramatically and they hurriedly knelt down. At the same time, he pointed behind the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign as a reminder. However, the 2 of them were surprised to find that they couldn't kneel down. A terrifying force enveloped the 2 of them, making them unable to kneel. Not only that, all the Thunder Tribulation giants who knelt down were surprised to find that their bodies stood up straight. Seeing this, the purple-robed giant's forehead turned black. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly, and his expression was extremely ugly. Purple Cloud immediately kowtowed and apologized to my daughter and Lei Lang. The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign pointed to the purple-robed giant and said. As soon as these words came out, there was dead silence all around. Everyone's eyes seemed to be about to pop out, revealing a look of disbelief. The Sovereign actually asked Lord Purple Cloud to apologize? Moreover, kowtow and apologize? Is this all a dream? How dare I have this kind of dream? Shock, disbelief, and surprise were written on the faces of all the Thunder Tribulation giants. Even those purple-robed giants were shocked at this moment. They looked at the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign with anger in their chests and killing intent surging in their bodies. The kind of murderous gaze seemed to be able to kill the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign. They were waiting for Lord Purple Cloud's order. As long as Lord Purple Cloud gave the order, they would immediately attack and kill the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign on the ground. What did you say? Purple Cloud picked his ears, thinking that he had heard wrong. The momentum of his whole person instantly skyrocketed 10 times. A terrifying pressure spread in all directions, enveloping the group of Thunder Tribulation giants. Such a terrifying pressure, has the strength of Lord Purple Cloud reached the superior god level? Oh my god, what should I do? I'm just an inferior god now, and I'm not an opponent of Lord Purple Cloud at all? The group of Thunder Tribulation giants muttered to themselves, their faces full of despair. Hearing this, the corners of Purple Cloud's mouth raised into a faint smile. He raised his head high, used his peripheral vision to look at the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign, and was instantly stunned. He was horrified to find that the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign was standing in place, and his face was extremely calm. It was as if the pressure he released was a joke. Are you deaf? Or I can't speak clearly? Get over here and apologize to my daughter and Lei Lang, otherwise die. His voice was loud and full of momentum. The domineering appearance made the group of Thunder Tribulation giants stunned. Father, you don't have to do this. You don't have to give up your life for me. Sovereign, I can't, my clan can't do without you. Lei Lu and Lei Lang muttered to themselves, shaking their heads and smiling bitterly. Purple Cloud was suppressed by the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign in place, and he didn't recover for a while. For a long time, Purple Cloud suppressed the anger in his chest and stared at the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign. It seemed that he wanted to see through him. However, After exhausting all means, the Thunder Retribution ruler still looked like a lower god. Lay out, Yin. It seems that you're going to rebel. I want to see what ability you have. After speaking, Purple Cloud turned into lightning and appeared in front of the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign in an instant. He raised his hand, aimed at the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign's head, and pressed it down. Buzz, the terrifying power kept rising in his hand, bursting out a frightening sound. It's over, it's over. Lei Lu closed her eyes and didn't dare to look at this frightening scene. Boom! A loud noise shook the entire hall. A wave of air whistled around. Everyone closed their eyes and didn't dare to look. Boom! Then there was another explosion, deafening. The faces of the Thunder Tribulation giants showed despair. Chapter 552. Boom! A deafening sound rang out, causing everyone's ears to ring. Hearing this sound, the Thunder Tribulation giants covered their ears and closed their eyes. It's over. The ruler is finished. Ruler, you died so miserably. Father, why do you have to do this? Low cries kept ringing. After a long time, they gradually calmed down. When they opened their eyes, they couldn't help but widen their eyes, revealing a look of disbelief. They saw Zishao fell to the ground, vomiting blood. Ouch! The scream was faintly heard, and it came out of Zishao's mouth. His eyes swept and swept over the Thunder Tribulation Lord. He stood there calmly, motionless. Even his movements were still the same. What's going on? Did the ruler make a move? My God, the ruler slapped the superior god away? Why'd I close my eyes just now? Oh, it's a pity that I didn't see such a wonderful scene. The Thunder Tribulation Lord looked at the Thunder Tribulation Lord in a daze, full of worship. Damn it, damn it. Zishao struggled to stand up, resentment written all over his face. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at the Thunder Tribulation Lord. A touch of fear flashed. Lay out, Yin, you dare to hit me today before he finished speaking. I'll give you one more chance. Kneel down and apologize immediately or die. This sound shocked Zishao's body. He looked at the Thunder Tribulation Lord in a daze, full of anger. Kill, kill for me. Zishao pointed at the Thunder Tribulation Lord and roared angrily. As soon as these words came out, step, step. A group of purple-armored giants around stepped forward and rushed toward the Thunder Tribulation Lord. Everyone exuded the aura of a god. When the Thunder Tribulation giants saw this, their faces changed drastically. Without any hesitation, they took a step and ran away quickly. The next second, every Thunder Tribulation Lord was fixed in place, full of panic. They screamed in horror, as if they were imprisoned, unable to move at all. There were also a group of purple-armored giants with the same look as them. As soon as they stepped out, they were fixed in the air. Then, boom! Like a fairy scattering flowers, they fell around the hall. This collision broke his bones and caused him to scream in agony. Without exception, all of the purple-armored giants fell to the ground and screamed in agony. One strike, and he was heavily injured. Zishao stared blankly at the scene, and the expression on her face kept changing. In the next second, he was even more terrified, and his body began to tremble uncontrollably. Thud! He saw the Thunder Tribulation Lord walking toward him step by step. Every step was like stepping on his body, causing his expression to turn pale and his body to tremble violently. What do you want? Don't come over. I'm the Celestial Emperor's emissary. If you attack me, you should know the consequences. Don't force me. If you dare to go any further, my father will definitely descend. He is a god emperor. Even if you're an ultimate god, you're powerless in front of a god emperor. However, no matter how the purple firmament threatened, there was no response. On the face of Thunder Tribulation Sovereign, there was only undisguised killing intent. He looked at Zishao as if he was looking at a dead person. Phew! With a wave of his right hand, a transparent palm formed and lifted purple firmament up. This transparent palm grabbed Zishao's neck, and no matter how he struggled, it was useless. Let go of me. Don't push me too hard. You will regret it. When my father comes, it will be the time of your death. Zishao's threats continued. The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign completely ignored it. He pinched Zizhao's neck and raised the palm that could smash everything. Damn it, seeing that the palm was about to descend. At this time, Zizhao gritted her silver teeth and crushed the talisman in her hand. Phew! An illusory figure swept down with a terrifying pressure. In an instant, it enveloped the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign. At this moment, all the movements of the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign stopped abruptly. He looked up, and his pupils shrank. He saw, behind Zizhao, a purple phantom with a height of 10,000 meters slowly condensed. This phantom exuded the pressure of a god-emperor. This pressure, like the Milky Way pouring down, enveloped everyone. Plop! A group of Thunder Tribulation giants knelt down uncontrollably. In the end, they all crawled on the ground, shivering. Kacha! The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign gritted his silver teeth and resisted with all his strength. His bones seemed to be crushed, making a sound of friction. He looked at the purple phantom, and his face changed slightly. Father! Zizhao regained his freedom and knelt in front of the purple phantom with an excited face. Trash! Every time you go to a place, you have to summon me to save you. How'd I give birth to a trash like you? The purple phantom shook his head secretly. These words stabbed into Zizhao's chest like a silver needle. He lowered his head and no longer spoke. Phew! The purple phantom's eyes swept and stared directly at the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign. Lay out, Yin. I didn't expect you to grow to the divine venerable realm. It really surprised me a little. However, with just this, you want to take my son's life. Do you put me in your eyes? The voice of the purple phantom seemed to have some kind of magic, pressing hard on the chest of the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign. Every sentence, with terrifying pressure, made the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign's body uncontrollably kneel down. The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign opened his mouth and couldn't say a word. The expression on his face changed, and finally, he knelt on the ground unwillingly. Greetings, Purple Knight Emperor. The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign shouted. Humph! The purple phantom snorted coldly. You also know to kneel to me. Lay out, Yin. Over the years, your performance has been extremely poor. How do you explain it? Also, why do I sense that the Thunder Tribulation hammer is less? How do you explain it? The words of the purple phantom made the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign break out in a cold sweat, and he couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat. He opened his mouth, unable to explain. Purple Knight Emperor, this little one can punish you. The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign looked at the Thunder Tribulation giants around. Please be merciful and spare their lives. Huh. The purple phantom laughed up to the sky. A touch of anger flashed away. Lay out, Yin. Are you qualified to talk to me about conditions? Speaking of this, the purple phantom's eyes swept and stared directly at the group of Thunder Tribulation giants. I'm going to kill them all right in front of you. As soon as these words came out, the purple phantom's eyes swept over everyone. Immediately, boom, the sound of explosions kept ringing. The bodies of the Thunder Tribulation giants burst open, directly burst into blood mist, and died on the spot. No, little Lu, Alang, the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign let out a heart-wrenching scream. He rushed forward frantically, hugged the blood foam on the ground, and almost fainted with grief. He looked at the purple phantom, his face full of anger. Ziyi, you goddamn bastard. I'll fight you to the death. The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign turned into a long rainbow and went straight to the purple phantom. Little ant, don't overestimate yourself. The purple phantom snorted coldly, stretched out his finger, and pointed at the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign. Boom! The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign fell to the ground like a kite with a broken string.